Chapter 1160. With your cultivation speed, I'm afraid it won't be long before you surpass me. By then, even if I wanted to help you, I might not have the chance. Speaking of this, the Moon Maiden was clearly a little disappointed. She admired Ling Zhao's aptitude, but on the other hand, she felt that it was a pity. Once she could not protect Ling Zhao, what was the point of staying by Ling Zhao's side? Don't think too much, Sister Moon Maiden. If you protect me now, I'll protect you in the future. Moreover, Sister Moon Maiden's strength has not recovered to its peak, right? It'll be very difficult for me to catch up to you. Ling Zhao gently pinched the Moon Maiden's fair hand and comforted her. Of course, he knew what the Moon Maiden was thinking. He just wanted to tell the Moon Maiden that there was no point in letting her imagination run wild. The woman that Ling Zhao had set his mind on could not be changed in this lifetime, unless the woman left him on her own accord. In the spacious and luxurious hall, it was crowded with people. As the Heavenly Reason Alliance's secret activity venue in Langton City, this place should be quieter and more secretive. However, it seemed that this was not the case. The atmosphere here today was very lively and jubilant, as if something joyous was about to happen. Upon closer inspection, the people sitting in the hall were all influential figures from all over the world. There were leaders of various resistance organizations on the Heavenly Dragon continent. There were emissaries from various countries on the Divine Phoenix continent. There were even representatives from the 5 Immortal Islands. These people did not gather here to play. They all had a common goal, and that was to befriend Gao Yongwen, the Alliance Master of the Heavenly Reason Alliance. Now that the Heavenly Reason Alliance's power was growing, the various resistance forces on the Heavenly Dragon continent had been annexed and incorporated by him, as if he wanted to conquer the world. Although Gao Yongwen seemed to be subservient to the True Demon's empire and was willing to be their puppet, this guy was actually very ambitious. He wanted to become the king of the Heavenly Dragon continent and be on equal footing with the True Demon's empire. Then, the first thing he had to deal with was the trouble of Northern Han. Today's gathering was the meeting where he officially became the Alliance Master of the Resistance Alliance, so it was naturally jubilant. On the surface, the Defender Alliance was targeting the True Devil Empire. However, interestingly, Gao Yongwen's established strategy was to first destroy the state of Northern Han and divide the world with the True Devil Empire. Sitting at the head of the table was Gao Yongwen. Although he was already 60 or 70 years old, this age was still considered the prime of life for a martial artist. His robe, which was made of precious materials, made him look very majestic. He sat there and cupped his hands in greeting to the guests, obviously enjoying the feeling of being praised to the heavens. From time to time, a complacent smile would flash across his face. To be able to reach this point, he had to thank the True Devil Imperial country. If it weren't for the True Devil Empire destroying the Sacred Dynasty, his Heavenly Truth Alliance would only be able to make a small fuss. Of course, he wouldn't really thank the True Devil Empire. After all, to him, this was just a mutual benefit. He used the True Devil Empire to deal with the Sacred Dynasty, while the True Devil Empire used him to restrain Northern Han. Blackwater Fairy Island's special envoy, Lord John M.O., has arrived. Outside the door, a voice suddenly sounded, causing the noisy hall to suddenly quiet down. The Blackwater Immortal Island was a powerful existence among the 5 Immortal Islands, and was also where Gao Yongwen's master was. Generally speaking, the 5 Immortal Islands wouldn't send people to this kind of worldly conflict. However, the Blackwater Immortal Island had a special relationship with Gao Yongwen, so they naturally sent a special envoy. Although the strength of this special envoy, Jean M.O., was only at the late stage of the first Grotto Heaven realm, the power he represented was incomparably terrifying. At the very least, in the Divine Phoenix continent and the Heavenly Dragon continent. Unless someone was crazy, no one would be willing to provoke them. With the support of the Blackwater Immortal Island, Gao Yongwen's position as the Alliance Master of the Resistance Alliance became more secure. Even the True Devil Empire couldn't do anything to him. let alone the small state of Northern Han. Ha ha ha! Senior brother Gao Yongwen, long time no see. Today, I've come under the orders of my master to congratulate you. Congratulations, senior brother. Jean Emo came alone, but the clothes he was wearing had the symbol of the Blackwater Immortal Island, so he couldn't be looked down upon. Moreover, his cultivation wasn't low. Apart from Gao Yongwen and a few others, there really wasn't anyone stronger than him at the late stage of the first Grotto Heaven Realm. Junior brother Jean, just come. There's no need to bring gifts. Please come in and have a seat of honor. Gao Yongwen directly pulled Jean Mo's hand and had him sit beside him. Although his relationship with Jean Mo wasn't that good when he was at the Blackwater Immortal Island, today, in front of so many people, he still had to put on a show of brotherly affection. A moment later, another voice came from outside. Northern Han's special envoy, Ling Wuhan, has arrived. Ling Wuhan? Hearing this name, the corner of Gao Yongwen's mouth raised into a smug smile. Ling Wuhan was a key figure in the Heaven's Choice Academy. Although his cultivation wasn't very good, his relationship with Ling Xiao was very good. Moreover, his status was also very high. Today, Ling Wuhan actually appeared here. Did that mean that Northern Han was prepared to admit defeat? Hee, admitting defeat is useless. If I don't destroy your Northern Han, how can I, Gao Yongwen, be at ease? Although Gao Yongwen was thinking this, he still let Ling Wuhan in. Since he was going to destroy Northern Han, he might as well use this Ling Wuhan as a sacrifice. Greetings to the alliance head of the Tianli Union. Congratulations. Ling Wuhan didn't come alone. Beside him was an old man, Ling Zhao's master, Grandmaster Baiyun. I really didn't expect that Mr. Ling would actually be willing to come to my place. Your presence brings light to my humble cottage. Gao Yongwen said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He cupped his hands and casually arranged for Ling Wuhan and Grandmaster Baiyun to sit down in an inconspicuous position. After all, it was just something to be used as a sacrifice. It wasn't worthwhile to care so much about it. In any case, those who came were all reputable figures. Moreover, they were also very important to Gao Yongwen. However, Gao Yongwen's son, Gao Yongjun, was nowhere to be seen. Of the people in the hall, those who should have come had basically all come. However, no one noticed that on the eaves of this hidden place, there were two people squatting there, carefully observing every movement in the hall. I didn't expect that even second Master Ling and my master, Grandmaster Baiyun, would come. Aren't they just like sheep entering the tiger's den? Ling Xiao sighed helplessly. Don't blame them. After all, they don't understand this Gao Yongwen. In their opinion, if they want to overthrow the true Demon Empire, they must cooperate with Gao Yongwen's Tianli Union. The Moon Maiden explained, Look at their resolute faces. They clearly knew that it was dangerous, yet they still came. If their deaths can wake up those sleeping people in Northern Han, it can be considered pretty good. Chapter 1161. Since I'm here today, I can't let them die. Ling Xiao gritted his teeth. Don't worry. No matter what, I'm still a member of Heaven's Choice Academy. I won't watch them die. We'll do as you say. The Moon Lady looked at Ling Xiao and said, Of course it's to ruin their plans. However, we have to ensure the safety of second Master Ling and Master Baiyun. Sister Moon Lady, you just have to restrain Gao Yongwen. Leave the rest to me. Ling Xiao had observed carefully. Among the guests and hosts, Gao Yongwen was the strongest. However, he was definitely not a match for the Moon Lady. As for the rest, he and the Butterfly Lady could easily handle them. He wouldn't act recklessly if he wasn't confident. Sigh. The Moon Lady suddenly sighed. What's wrong, Sister Moon Lady? I feel sad for Gao Yongwen. This should be a joyous day for him. However, he didn't expect to meet a jinx like you. The Moon Maiden caressed Ling Zhao's ears lovingly and smiled. It's all thanks to Sister Moon Lady's presence. Ling Xiao also smiled. Without you, I wouldn't have dealt with him. In the end, it's all your plan. In the hall, all the guests had arrived. Gao Yongwen stood up with a smile. He looked very majestic and had the aura of dominating the world. Everyone looked at him in awe, waiting for his reprimand. As long as Gao Yongwen made a move, he could easily kill all of these people present. This was the confidence and prestige that his strength gave him. No one dared to disagree. Even Jean Mo from Blackwater Immortal Island was the same. Hee, everyone, I, Gao Yongwen, have to thank all of you for your support. It's a great fortune for all of you to be able to participate in this gathering that I've organized. Gao Yongwen smiled and said, I'm sure everyone knows that the Defender Alliance has been established. Our ultimate goal is the True Demon's Empire. However, first I need to announce a goal. Everyone must work together to achieve it. Hearing this, many people couldn't help but look at Ling Wuheng and Master Baiyin. Some people had gloating expressions on their faces, while others had helpless and sad expressions on their faces. They must have already heard the news that the first step of Gao Yongwen's resistance alliance was to exterminate Northern Han or have Northern Han submit to them. Ling Wuheng and Master Baiyin also felt the tense atmosphere. They looked at each other, their hearts filled with sorrow. Originally, he had sincerely hoped that the Northern Han Kingdom and the Tianli Kingdom could join forces to resist the true demon empire. But now, it seems that they have no intention of cooperating at all. They just want to swallow you up. The goal of this stage is actually very clear. It is obviously impossible to easily overthrow the true Devil Empire by relying on the strength of our Heavenly Truth Alliance. So we must expand our strength and find helpers. At present, the majority of the rebel organizations on the Tianlong continent had already pledged allegiance to the Rebel Alliance. Only the state of Northern Han was still reluctant to join. As for the state of Northern Han, it is without a doubt the largest rebel organization other than our Heavenly Reason League. My goal is very clear. I want the state of Northern Han to join this big rebel family. Of course, after joining, the state of Northern Han can no longer establish the position of emperor. However, the original emperor can become the deputy alliance leader of our resistance alliance. At the same time, the state of Northern Han can also obtain a lot of information from our Heavenly Truth Alliance. In case they are attacked, our Heavenly Truth Alliance will also lend a hand. Today, the 2 special envoys from the state of Northern Han have also come. There is no harm in listening to their opinions. Gao Yongwen's words were very righteous and awe-inspiring. However, anyone with discerning eyes could see that. Once the state of Northern Han joined the Resistance Alliance, it would mean that the Tianli Kingdom would annex them. This meant that the other side wouldn't need to waste a single soldier to incorporate them. If it were anyone else, they would never agree to such unfair terms. In fact, how could Gao Yongwen not know this point? It was precisely because he knew that he would say this. He wanted to force the state of Northern Han to oppose him. Only then would he have an excuse to borrow the strength of the Resistance Alliance to attack the state of Northern Han. After all, the Heavenly Truth Alliance's strength was still a little weak. Everyone looked at Ling Wuhen and Grandmaster Baiyin. Among them, there were many small resistance organizations that had already become Gao Yongwen's lackeys. At this time, they were also adding oil to the fire. 2 special envoys for the common cause of mankind and for the sake of the overall situation. I hope that you will not make the wrong choice. That's right. Looking at the entire Tianlong continent, I fear that there is no second person who has the qualifications to compete with Alliance head Gao Yongwen for the leadership. Your state of Northern Han must be tactful. You are weak, so you should submit to the strong. This way, everyone's strength can be combined to face the common enemy. Such persuasion continuously sounded, causing Ling Wuhen and Grandmaster Baiyin to frown repeatedly. Ling Wuhen thought for a moment and said, Everyone, I fear that the 2 of us cannot make a decision on such a major matter. I fear that we will have to return and ask for instructions. Who doesn't know that you, Ling Wuhen, have a close relationship with the heaven's chosen child? Even the Emperor of Northern Han has to listen to your words. Someone loudly said, "These words are too much. The heaven's chosen child has gone to the divine Phoenix continent and has not returned to Northern Han for a long time. He does not have any influence there. Moreover, I, Ling Wuhin, am merely a martial artist with the cultivation of one-line heaven. I truly do not have the authority to speak." Ling Wuhin shook his head. "So you are saying that you are unwilling?" Gao Yongwen directly looked at Ling Wuhin and questioned. "It is not that I am unwilling, but that I cannot make this decision. However, the Northern Han monarch has entrusted us to discuss matters of cooperation with the Resistance Alliance. Of course, after joining the alliance, the monarch and Mr. Gao Yongwen will jointly control the alliance and be on equal footing. Everything needs to be discussed and not submitted." Ling Wuhin revealed Northern Han's true intentions. Cooperation is fine, but submission is out of the question. You still want to be on equal footing with this alliance head. Is your Northern Han monarch tired of living? You are truly shameless. Gao Yongwen revealed a malevolent expression and coldly said, "I will give you one more chance. Agree to submit to me and sign a contract. Then you can scram. Otherwise, Northern Han will become the target of the Resistance Alliance." He had already completely torn off his disguise and was a threat through and through. "Is Alliance Head threatening us?" Ling Wuhin frowned. "That's right. I am threatening you. Don't tell me that you don't understand the principle of the strong preying on the weak. If you are weaker than me, then you will be under my rule. If your Northern Han is stronger than our Heavenly Reason Alliance, then I will also join without hesitation and be under your rule." Gao Yongwen sneered. He is very clear that although Northern Han has two powerful Yin-Yang realm martial artists, one is missing and the other is still recuperating in seclusion. The current him is the strongest human existence on the heavenly dragon continent. Chapter 1162. Looking at Gao Yongwen's ugly behavior, some people felt uncomfortable, but they didn't dare to say anything. After all, Gao Yongwen was strong enough. If they didn't obey him, they might die. "Master Baiyun, let's go." It seems that Alliance Master Gao Yongwen has no intention of sitting down and negotiating with us. Ling Wuhin's fantasy was completely shattered. From now on, it was impossible for Northern Han and Tianli Kingdom to cooperate, unless Gao Yongwen died. Want to leave? I'm afraid it won't be that easy, since you know the secret of our rebels' alliance. Don't think about leaving alive. Gao Yongwen sneered. "It's not bad to use you as a sacrifice." "You want to fight?" Master Baiyun frowned. "So what if I do? One of you is in one-line celestial cultivation, while the other is an Avalon of 5 elements. You're both trash to me. Killing you is like killing dogs. Come on, catch these 2 traitors of True Demon's Empire and use them as a sacrifice on the day of battle." Gao Yongwen shouted loudly. Yes. In the crowd, some warriors who wanted to be Gao Yongwen's henchmen jumped out one after another. More than a dozen people, all of whom were in Celestial Realm, were leaders of the Rebels' Alliance. Although their strength was uneven, with so many people besieging 2 people, they would definitely win. "Wuhin, I'll find a chance to use that treasure later. You take the opportunity to escape." Master Baiyun took a deep breath, and his face showed a determined look. "Let me use it," Ling Wuhin said. "No need to argue. I'm already old, and you still have a promising future. I know what's more important." Master Baiyun raised his hand to protect Ling Wuhin, and then looked at the storage ring on his finger. There was a magic treasure in it that was specially used to perish together. The user would definitely die, but as long as he could create a chance for Ling Wuhin to escape, he would accept it. "You 2 don't have to die. The one who should die is Gao Yongwen, the leader of the Tianli Alliance." In the hall where the atmosphere was extremely tense, a clear voice suddenly sounded. Then a young man landed in the crowd. The energy that erupted from him blasted back more than a dozen warriors who rushed up. The young man's face was gloomy, and he looked coldly at Gao Yongwen, who was sitting on the leader's throne. The sudden appearance of this handsome young man was too eye-catching, so much so that everyone's eyes were attracted to it. They were all a little stunned. Did a teenager who looked like he was only 16 or 17 years old have a fever in his head or something? How dare he cause trouble at Gao Yongwen's place? To the prideful Gao Yongwen, this was a great humiliation. Ling Xiao, Ling Wuhen, and Master Bai Yin were the most shocked by the appearance of the young man. They never thought that they would be able to meet Ling Xiao here under such circumstances. Their hearts were filled with excitement. However, in the blink of an eye, they began to worry again. How could Ling Xiao be a match for Gao Yongwen alone? The chosen one, Ling Xiao? Ha! I didn't think that you would actually dare to walk right into my trap. Gao Yongwen's anger suddenly turned into ecstasy. To him, the only uncertain factor in unifying the Sky Dragon continent was Ling Xiao. Now that Ling Xiao had appeared and was standing in front of him, he could pinch this young man to death at any time. However, Ling Xiao did not pay attention to his expression and words. He only said indifferently, "Gao Yongjun is your son, right? Let him come out. I have something to ask him." Ha! Gao Yongwen looked up to the sky and laughed. Was the young man in front of him crazy? How dare he speak to him like that? Young man, you'd better understand your situation. If you're here to submit to me, then I'll naturally welcome you. In the future, there will definitely be a place for you in the new sacred dynasty. But if you're here to mess things up, I'll definitely use you and the two people behind you as sacrifices. While speaking, Gao Yongwen released energy from his hands and actually condensed into two masses of earthy yellow aura. It was heavy and overbearing, and his whole body naturally released an angry battle intent and murderous aura, causing the martial artists in the hall to involuntarily tremble. They gently shook their heads. This young man actually dared to boast so shamelessly in front of Gao Yongwen. He was definitely going to die. However, if they thought that this was boasting shamelessly and arrogantly, then they were underestimating Ling Xiao too much. Ling Xiao's next words almost caused their eyeballs to pop out of their sockets. Submit to you? Are you worthy? Although you're barely a half-step Yin-Yang realm expert and the leader of the Heavenly Reason Alliance, in the end you're just a vicious dog crawling at the feet of the true demon empire. These words were even more shocking than throwing a thunderbolt bomb. Shocked and terrified gazes were cast at Ling Xiao. They all thought that Ling Xiao was crazy. But even if you're crazy, don't do it here. If you anger Gao Yongwen, you'll probably be implicated. A half-step Yin-Yang realm expert was actually nothing in this young man's eyes. Don't forget that when Gao Yongwen established the Heavenly Reason Alliance, he was besieged by the Sacred Dynasty's army. He actually killed 100,000 troops of the Sacred Dynasty by himself and successfully protected the Heavenly Reason Alliance. That incident happened 10 years ago. At that time, Gao Yongwen's cultivation was only at the 7th grotto heaven, not even a half-step Yin-Yang realm expert. Could it be that this young man didn't know about the past, so he foolishly provoked a terrifying butcher? Among the guests, there were martial artists from the true demon empire, but they were disguised. This person was the demon capital city, lord of the true demon empire. This time, he came to secretly support Gao Yongwen. Hearing Ling Xiao describe the powerful true demon empire so casually, he couldn't help but feel a little angry. However, he still didn't reveal his identity. Gao Yongwen was completely furious. His originally wise and heroic face instantly became ferocious and terrifying. A cup was smashed on the ground by him. Immediately, dozens of people rushed in from outside. They were all elite martial artists of the Heavenly Reason Alliance. They surrounded Ling Xiao, Ling Wuheng, and Master Bai Yun. Good boy, I gave you face, but you didn't take it. Since I established the Heavenly Reason Alliance, no one has dared to speak to me like this. You're the first one. If I don't use you as a sacrifice today, I'll really let down the countless brothers and sisters of the Heavenly Reason Alliance. Gao Yongwen's voice was gloomy and cold. In his opinion, cooperation was impossible. Even if Ling Xiao wanted to cooperate, he wouldn't agree. Such an arrogant and ignorant young man. Only by killing him could he dispel the hatred in his heart. Ha! Everyone knows how to speak ruthlessly. Today, let's see who will use who as a sacrifice. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and said, "When you first established the Heavenly Reason Alliance, you still adhered to the idea of enforcing justice on behalf of heaven. To be honest, I admire you very much. But now, you're just an old bastard who recognizes a thief as his father. If I kill you, I believe most people on the Tianlong continent will be happy." A sentence in the chuckle once again shocked the audience. Chapter 1163. Good. Very good. Very good. Little bastard. You have a sharp tongue. You have guts. Gao Yongwen was so angry that he laughed. A powerful force erupted, causing the tables, chairs, and limestone floor around him to shatter. Even John Mo and the others who were sitting near him had to retreat far away, afraid that they would be affected by this furious, half-step Yin-Yang realm expert. This old thing looks like he's about to break through to the Yin-Yang realm. Jean Mo's face was gloomy. The Devil Capital City's lord also frowned. They all hoped that Gao Yongwen would be a dog instead of a tiger. Once Gao Yongwen really broke through to the Yin-Yang realm, neither the True Demon's Empire nor the Blackwater Immortal Island would be able to suppress him. The two of them originally wanted to step forward, but they both sat down and didn't say anything. If they could let this young man dampen Gao Yongwen's spirit and embarrass him, it might not be a bad thing for them. The elite martial artists of the Heavenly Reason Alliance were all invigorated when they saw their alliance master's awe-inspiring aura. As long as Gao Yongwen gave the order, they would immediately attack and kill Ling Xiao and the others on the spot. However, Ling Xiao didn't care about Gao Yongwen's soaring aura and fighting spirit. He only said indifferently, "Gao Yongwen, I don't care if you want to die for your son. However, I am here today to find your son, Gao Yongjun." He actually colluded with Langdon City's city, Lord Jiao Lai, to plot against the Restoration Society's president, Wu Xiang. This kind of behavior is exactly the same as your father. Nonsense. Kill him. Gao Yongwen wouldn't allow Ling Xiao to continue speaking. If Ling Xiao could appear here, it probably meant that the idiot Jiao Lai's plan had failed. Since that was the case, he had to kill Ling Xiao here. Only then would he be able to turn the tables. He didn't care about Wu Xiang at all. Following Gao Yongwen's order, the elite martial artists of the Heavenly Reason Alliance released their martial souls at the same time. Then, they took out their weapons and charged towards Ling Xiao. Although they really wanted to go together, the hall was only so big and there wasn't that much space. However, in their opinion, it should be very easy for 7 or 8 elite warriors of the 9th celestial layer to kill a 16 or 17-year-old child. Ling Xiao, be careful! Ling Wuhan was anxious and made a move to stop him. "Master Ling, master, don't move." A calm voice rang out from Ling Xiao's mouth. He stood there without any intention of moving. When the weapons of the 8 elite warriors were only 3 or 4 inches away from him, a dazzling light suddenly emerged from his body, wrapping those weapons in it. Qi, the weapon that was wrapped in light, actually turned into droplets of molten iron under the high temperature and fell to the ground. However, the shocking situation did not end there. The light was released and rushed towards the 8 elite martial artists. Those 8 people only had time to open their eyes wide, but they didn't have time to cry out in alarm. After the baptism of the terrifying heat, they all turned into piles of black ashes, falling onto the clean bluestone floor. It was very eye-catching. Hiss! The crowd made a sound of sucking in a breath of cold air. Horrified and incredulous gazes were all directed at Ling Xiao. What kind of killing method was this? What was with that light? The legendary heavens, chosen one, should not be so terrifying, right? It's actually the profound meaning of light. Logically speaking, on the Sky Dragon continent and the Divine Phoenix continent, no one should have mastered this kind of high-level profound meaning. This is the ultimate mystery of martial arts. Even on the Five Immortals Island, no one can master it. Jean Mo's face was shocked to the extreme. The rumored profound meaning of martial arts was brought back by some warriors from outside the gate of Heaven's chosen one. Of course, there were also very few warriors who obtained the true essence of the ancient martial arts and comprehended the profound meaning. Could it be that this kid actually has a martial arts secret book from the ancient era? And it should be a full set. Jean Mo's face showed a greedy expression. This kid is so scary. I feel that the Heavenly Reason Alliance has really encountered a difficult person this time. In the crowd, some people were whispering. Although I haven't seen the Heaven's chosen one, I have heard of his heroic deeds. Back in the Holy City, he injured the Electric Demon King and the Yin-Yang Demon King. Although he used external forces, it was still very impressive. Gao Yongwen is usually so overbearing. This time, he has finally met his match. I didn't expect my disciple to have grown to this extent. Master Baiyin was even more shocked. When he thought of how he looked down on such a disciple, he felt a little funny. Fortunately, he reined in the horse at the edge of the cliff and got along well with Ling Xiao, which led to today's master-disciple relationship. Therefore, he was actually very lucky. Little bastard, you really have some skills. But even if you have the ability to kill them, it's still nothing in front of me. All of you retreat to the side. I will deal with him personally. Gao Yongwen could see that Ling Xiao's strength was much stronger than he imagined. If he forced his subordinates to deal with Ling Xiao, he was afraid that only corpses would be left behind. It seemed that he could only do it himself. Aren't you going to call for help? Isn't the city lord of the demon capital, Demon Jiao, with you? Since you've already colluded, why hide? You will definitely die alone. Ling Xiao said indifferently. Bullsh *T. Who's the city lord of the demon capital, Demon Jiao? Why don't I know? Gao Yongwen definitely wouldn't admit it. After all, this kind of thing couldn't be exposed. He could collude with the people of the true demon's empire, but he definitely couldn't let others know. Otherwise, many things wouldn't be clear. Get out here. Ling Xiao suddenly stretched out his hand, and a rainbow-colored light pierced through the sky. To others, it was an attack. In reality, it was just the butterfly lady flying out. The city lord of the demon capital, Demon Jiao, was stronger than Jiao Lai. Even if Ling Xiao could defeat him with his own strength, it would be very difficult. Therefore, it was best to let the butterfly lady help. In just an instant, Demon Jiao's chest was pierced and his corpse was dragged over, revealing his true appearance in front of everyone. It really is Demon Jiao. The chosen one is too terrifying. Demon Jiao is a second Grotto Heaven Realm expert, but he was killed by him in one move? Yeah, this young man's growth is too terrifying. Everyone discussed animatedly, and they were even more in awe of Ling Xiao's strength. As for Gao Yongwen, they were somewhat disdainful. Although they had heard some rumors about Gao Yongwen colluding with the true demon's empire in the past, it was still just rumors. After all, those were just rumors and couldn't be taken seriously. But today, Demon Jiao was pulled out on the spot. Even if Gao Yongwen jumped into the stormy ocean, he wouldn't be able to clear his name. So what if he's Demon Jiao? What does it have to do with me? Gao Yongwen snorted coldly. The city lord of the true demons empire snuck into this alliance conference and tried to assassinate me. I have to thank the chosen one for getting rid of him for me. Chapter 1164. Ha ha ha! I've seen many shameless people in the Divine Phoenix Empire, but compared to them, Alliance Master Gaoyang is not inferior at all. Ling Xiao laughed loudly and said, Since you want to lose face, then I'll satisfy you. After speaking, he directly took out the Scorpion Man race's blood mirror. When the scenes of collusion were displayed one by one, Gao Yongwen's old face completely darkened. How about it? You have nothing to say, right? Ling Xiao retorted. So what if this daddy is working with the true Devil Empire? So what if this daddy wants to work with them to destroy Northern Han? With just you, do you dare to offend the true Devil Empire and the Heavenly Reason Alliance? In the end, Gao Yongwen was unable to argue any further. So, he decided not to argue any further. Instead, he revealed his true, ferocious face. It's good that you admit to colluding with the true Devil Empire. I'm not afraid to tell you that this time, I came back from the Divine Phoenix Empire to destroy the true Devil Empire. Since you're colluding with them, then you'll become the sacrifice for me to destroy the true Devil Empire. Ling Xiao indifferently looked at Gao Yongwen, his face revealing a disdainful smile. Arrogant, I'll kill you right now. Gao Yongwen did not want to wait any longer. He had to give Ling Xiao a thunderous blow and directly kill Ling Xiao. His figure flashed, and he instantly appeared behind Ling Xiao. The strength of a half-step yin-yang realm expert was definitely not to be underestimated. If he wanted to kill Ling Xiao, then Ling Xiao would have a hard time stopping him. However, Ling Xiao did not come alone today. He was not a rash person. Die. Gao Yongwen was unable to restrain his anger as he fiercely slapped Ling Xiao from behind. If this palm really landed, then Ling Xiao would probably die on the spot. However, what made everyone incomparably shocked was that Ling Xiao only lightly turned around to block, and Gao Yongwen was sent flying like a kite with a broken string. The sound of bones breaking could even be heard in the air. Blood even formed a beautiful arc in the air. Bang! Gao Yongwen's body shattered the stone floor, and he fell heavily to the ground. With just one move, Ling Xiao had swatted away Gao Yongwen, who was known as the strongest human being like a fly. This strange scene made everyone in the hall flabbergasted. Although Ling Xiao had killed Demon Flood Dragon in an instant, everyone felt that Ling Xiao's strength was extraordinary. However, Demon Flood Dragon couldn't compare to Gao Yongwen. One was at the second Grotto Heaven realm, while the other was at the half-step Yin-Yang realm. The difference between them was like heaven and earth. But even so, Ling Xiao sent Gao Yongwen flying as though he had easily killed Demon Flood Dragon. A half-step Yin-Yang realm expert actually couldn't fight back against Ling Xiao. What was the cultivation level of this Ling Xiao? Could it be a Yin-Yang realm expert? Of course, they were all wrong. Although Ling Xiao had indeed attacked Gao Yongwen, the one who attacked Gao Yongwen wasn't Ling Xiao, but the Moon Lady. However, the Moon Lady's methods were too brilliant. None of the people present saw through the clues. Just like that, the leader of the Defender Alliance, who had been awe-inspiring and domineering just a moment ago, had turned into a dying old dog in just a few breaths of time. Ling Xiao still looked at Gao Yongwen indifferently and said, "Tell me, where is Gao Yongjun?" Hee, don't be delusional. June has already left the Divine Phoenix continent and is heading to the Black Water Fairy Island. Even if you kill me today, he will avenge me. Gao Yongwen leaned there weakly. His face was covered in blood, but he was still quite stubborn. Is that so? Since the Black Water Fairy Island dared to take in Gao Yongjun, it won't be far from destruction. I think there should be a disciple of the Black Water Fairy Island among the people present. Go back and tell your island master that I must kill Gao Yongjun. It's best not to let a traitor like him live. Otherwise, I will destroy the Blackwater Fairy Island. Many warriors present felt that these words were too unreal. Ling Xiao actually dared to threaten the Blackwater Fairy Island. Was he crazy? When the 5 immortal islands united, they were an existence that could go against the White Tiger continent. They were stronger than any force in the Heavenly Dragon continent or the Divine Phoenix continent. Going against them was tantamount to going against the 5 immortal islands. Jean Mo even felt that he was hallucinating. All along, the disciples of the 5 immortal islands had been arrogant when they came to the Heavenly Dragon continent or the Divine Phoenix continent. Today, someone actually dared to threaten him. However, after hesitating for a while, he did not make a move in the end. Ling Xiao's strength was too terrifying. He was worried that once he made a move, he might not even be able to keep his life. He might as well go back and report this matter to the higher-ups of the Black Water Fairy Island and let them make a decision. Since your son has gone to the Black Water Fairy Island, there's no need for you to live. Ling Xiao laughed coldly. He leaped and appeared in front of Gao Yongwen in an instant. He stabbed his sword directly into Gao Yongwen's shoulder blade, piercing through the bone and the ground. Gao Yongwen was severely injured by the Moon Lady. At this moment, he was not even worth mentioning in front of Ling Xiao. In the main hall, the crowd was filled with inconceivable shock. Just a short quarter of an hour ago, they were still discussing how to destroy Northern Han and how to use Ling Wuhen and Grandmaster Baiyun as sacrifices. However, a quarter of an hour later, those who wanted to use Ling Wuhen and Grandmaster Baiyun as sacrifices were all shivering in the crowd. As for their master, Gao Yongwen, he was nailed to the ground by Ling Xiao's sword. His life was in the hands of others. This sudden change of ice and fire made many people think that they were dreaming and hallucinating. They fiercely pinched themselves. The pain told them that this was not a hallucination, but a reality, a living reality. The once awe-inspiring king, Gao Yongwen, was now being toyed with like a piece of trash. Some people were happy to see this situation and rejoice in Gao Yongwen's misfortune. As for some people, even if they did not want to see Gao Yongwen being toyed with, they were afraid of Ling Xiao's strength and did not dare to make a move. In the end, it was Jean Emo who spoke. Young hero Ling, no matter what Gao Yongwen has done, he is still a disciple of our Blackwater Immortal Island. He should be dealt with by us. You cannot kill him. Jean Emo had no choice but to speak. If he watched Gao Yongwen be killed without doing anything, he would definitely be scolded to death by the upper echelons of the Blackwater Immortal Island when he returned. Being scolded was a small matter. He was afraid that Gao Yongwen's master would plot against him. Thus he had to speak. He felt that since he represented the Blackwater Immortal Island, Ling Xiao would give him some face. However, Ling Xiao did not even look at him. He only stared at Gao Yongwen and said, "It would be a pity to kill you. After all, you were once a hero. I can give you a chance. Swear to be my subordinate, and I can spare you. This way, you can continue to contribute to the resistance against the tyranny of the true demon empire." "You are delusional." Gao Yongwen gnashed his teeth and roared. "Kacha!" As his voice fell, his other arm was nailed to the ground. Chapter 1165. If you die, you'll have nothing. Don't you want to reconsider? Ling Xiao really felt that it was a pity to kill Gao Yongwen. After all, Gao Yongwen was the founder of the Heavenly Reason League. Killing him was tantamount to becoming fire and water with the Heavenly Reason League. Therefore, if he could subdue this guy, it would definitely be a good thing. Little bastard, don't be delusional. Brothers of the Heavenly Reason League, listen up. Even if I die, you have to chase this kid to the ends of the earth and let him die without a burial ground. Gao Yongwen roared in an extremely resentful voice. Even at death's door, you want to drag the Heavenly Reason League down with you. You're really selfish. Ling Xiao lightly shook his head. Looking at the martial artists of the Heavenly Reason League who were approaching him, his gaze was cold. You're all good men. Why follow this bastard who recognizes a thief as his father? Pledge allegiance to me. Pledge allegiance to the state of Northern Han and overthrow the true devil empire. You'll be heroes. Ling Xiao was not a butcher. Therefore, if he could avoid killing people, he would try his best not to. His words indeed made some people hesitate. However, there were still a dozen martial artists of the Heavenly Reason League who rushed towards Ling Xiao. They were all Gao Yongwen's trusted aides. They were raised by Gao Yongwen. If Gao Yongwen died, they wouldn't be able to survive. Therefore, no matter if they were Ling Xiao's opponent or not, they had to show their attitude. Ling Xiao didn't have the slightest sympathy for these people. The moment those people lifted their feet, they saw the red gold, spiral-shaped, all flying towards them. They wanted to dodge, but they couldn't. The red sun, all speed, was too fast. Moreover, it was mixed with the pressure of the soul, making them unable to control their bodies. In the blink of an eye, there were a dozen more corpses in the hall. All of them had their hearts pierced, and their chests were charred black. Although the red sun all was blazing hot, the air in the hall was extremely cold. Many cultivators lowered their breathing, not even daring to breathe loudly. They were afraid. They were fearful. They were terrified by Ling Xiao's strange and ruthless attacks. More than a dozen of Gao Yongwen's trusted aides had died in battle, and the rest of them began to hesitate. Was it worth it to fight to the death for a man who recognized a thief as his father? They were willing to sacrifice for their ideals. But he couldn't sacrifice himself for a bastard like Gao Yongwen. See that, Gao Yongwen? A just cause enjoys abundant support. You've done too many disgusting things. Even if they fear your strength, they won't save you when you're defeated because it's not worth it. Ling Xiao looked at Gao Yongwen, and the golden crow sword in his hand pierced towards his opponent's head. Since Gao Yongwen was unwilling to surrender, there was no need for him to keep this guy alive. Otherwise, if this guy didn't die, there would be people in the Tianli League who would never forget him. Kid, I've told you can't kill him. He's from the Blackwater Fairy Island. Jean Emo was anxious. He jumped out of the crowd and shouted. However, Ling Xiao turned a deaf ear to Jean Mo's shouts. Jean Emo was furious. Ling Xiao didn't give him any face and embarrassed him in front of so many people. At this moment, he had already forgotten how Gao Yongwen had been injured. He thought that he could save Gao Yongwen with his own ability. He thought Ling Xiao wouldn't do anything to him. So, he pounced at Ling Xiao and tried to block Ling Xiao's sword. Get lost! Ling Xiao didn't even turn his head as he waved his palm behind him. At the same time, the sword under his hand pierced Gao Yongwen's throat. There was no need for the Moon Lady to deal with Jean Emo. With the help of the Butterfly Lady, it was twice the result with half the effort. Just like Gao Yongwen, Jean Emo was sent flying as if he was struck by lightning. His face was pale and he spat out blood. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Ling Xiao actually dared to attack him. He didn't expect it at all. Ling Xiao, do you know what you're doing? You're provoking the Blackwater Fairy Island. Ling Xiao looked back at Jean Emo and said indifferently, other than using the Blackwater Fairy Island to intimidate others, what else do you have? I've already killed Gao Yongwen. Don't worry, I won't kill you. After all, I still need you to send a message to the Blackwater Fairy Island. You! Jean Emo heard Ling Xiao's understatement and was so angry that he almost spat out blood again. Think carefully. The Blackwater Fairy Island is one of the 5 fairy islands. Its power is beyond your imagination. If you offend us, you won't have a day of peace in the future. Jean Emo said coldly, Yes, you're right. The Blackwater Fairy Island is very powerful. However, if I, Ling Xiao, let go of a guy who tried to kill my benefactor and took a thief as his father because I'm afraid of them, I'm not a King man. If the Black Narcissus Island wants to kill me because of this, then I'll have no choice but to become their enemy. When the time comes, it'll be hard to say who will be the unlucky one. Ling Xiao said indifferently. All right, I hope you won't be a coward in the future. Jean Emo said loudly. Don't worry. Even if the Blackwater Fairy Island doesn't come looking for me, I'll still go there. After all, Gao Yongjun, the traitor, almost killed my senior brother. If I don't kill him, I, Ling Xiao, won't be able to vent my anger. Ling Xiao said indifferently. Jean Emo was stunned for a moment before he smiled and said, Good, very good. Since you have the guts, I'll wait for you at the Blackwater Fairy Island and see how you die. If you're done with your nonsense, then get lost. Don't let me see you again. Otherwise, I don't know if I'll suddenly change my mind. Ling Xiao waved his hand as if he was chasing away a noisy fly. Jean Emo gritted his teeth and ran out of the door in a sorry state. He did not even look back. He did not want to stay in this place any longer. That Ling Xiao was a lunatic. He believed that if he hesitated even a little bit, he might lose his life on the spot. There were already people following behind Jean Mo. After all, what happened here could not be known to the upper echelons of the true demon's empire for the time being. At the very least, it had to be concealed for one night. If Jean Mo really wanted to tell on him, then he would really have to die. However, Jean Mo did not have such thoughts. He just wanted to leave this place and leave this nightmare. In the hall. Greetings, chosen one. Suddenly, a group of people knelt down in front of Ling Xiao. You guys are quite tactful. You were so loyal to Gao Yongwen just a moment ago. In the blink of an eye, you're declaring your loyalty to me? Ling Xiao sneered disdainfully. The group of people knelt on the ground. They were annoyed but did not know what to do. Don't worry, I'm not a bloodthirsty person. You've all been deceived by Gao Yongwen. Ling Xiao smiled and said, but if you like to kneel, then kneel for a while longer. When Wu Xiang comes, he'll give each of you a pill. After eating it, there won't be any harm for the time being. But if anyone wants to betray me in the future, then you'll die without a burial place. Chapter 1166. These people who had just surrendered were not easy to control. Ling Xiao could not treat them as brothers. Without a special way to control them, it would be terrible if they were in a mess. Therefore, it was necessary to feed them special elixirs. On the other side, Xie Li led the disguised scorpion men to sneak into Langton City. He helped Wu Xiang complete the handover and completely controlled Langton City. After dealing with the matters of the city lord's mansion, Wu Xiang rushed to the nest of the Heavenly Reason Alliance, which was where Ling Xiao was. In fact, it was easier to deal with things here than at the city lord's mansion. After all, they were all humans, so they all just needed to eat those special elixirs. Ling Xiao did not care about these details and threw them all to Wu Xiang's Restoration Society. There were many people in the Restoration Society, but most of them were active everywhere. There was even a team of more than 1,000 people in the jungle outside the city. This team entered Langton City under the cover of night and set up camp. They were only waiting for Ling Xiao to give the order to attack. The war to overthrow the true demonic empire could begin. Northern Han also cooperated with this operation and began to prepare their army, ready to attack the true demonic empire at any time. That night, Wu Xiang brought Gao Yongwen's head to the Heavenly Reason Alliance and handed it to the deputy who had been very dissatisfied with Gao Yongwen. The deputy of the Heavenly Reason Alliance was most dissatisfied with Gao Yongwen's collusion with the true demonic empire. Therefore, this time he immediately reached an agreement with Wu Xiang and launched an internal coup. He quickly eliminated Gao Yongwen's trusted aides, took control of the Heavenly Reason Alliance, and announced that he would work with Northern Han to deal with the true demonic empire. As for who the Heavenly Reason Alliance would belong to in the future, it was not decided yet. It was best that they had the same goal now. Almost at the same time, Bai Qinjiao and Hong Li were rushing to Modu. This time, the two of them returned to Modu from the Divine Phoenix continent to participate in the heroes' assembly held in Modu. Bai Qinjiao was still dressed in white, looking tough and cold. Hong Li was dressed in a fiery red dress, and there was always some arrogance and complacency between her eyebrows. After all, to them, the Sea Clan had already annexed more than half of the Heavenly Dragon Continent's territory. In the Heavenly Dragon Continent, the status of the Sea Clan was much higher than in the Divine Phoenix Continent. Senior sister, this time when we return to the Heavenly Dragon Continent, the two of us must take first and second place in the Heroes' Assembly and let those lowly humans on the Heavenly Dragon Continent see that our Sea Clan is the best. The Red Carp had always looked down on humans. Ever since she lost to Ling Xiao in the Martial Arts Festival, she had been brooding over it. In the past year, she had been cultivating very hard in the Phoenix Academy, and her cultivation had improved very quickly. Coupled with the natural advantages of the Sea Clan and her extraordinary talent, she was now at the late stage of the 6 Arts Heaven Realm. In her opinion, this cultivation was definitely one of the best among the young warriors who had participated in the Martial Arts Festival. Her senior sister, Bai Qinjiao, was even scarier than her. Bai Qianjiao, who had awakened the immemorial great white shark martial spirit, was now at the early stage of 7 stars heaven. Therefore, the two of them would inevitably become the protagonists of this assembly. The red carp, there's always someone better than you. Don't be too proud. I heard that Ling Xiao has reached the level of the Divine Phoenix Empire's 10 great phoenixes. If he also participates, I'm afraid we won't be able to win. Bai Qianjiao was different from the red carp. She was a more cautious and wise person. Also, there's that Haim Myung-ko. Her cultivation may not be weaker than yours or mine. This hero's assembly is really unpredictable. Senior sister, you're overestimating other people's morale and diminishing our own. I know that Ling Xiao has caused a lot of trouble this time, but aren't those just rumors? Do you believe that he's that powerful? Besides, this hero's assembly is being held in Magic City. Would he dare to come? The red carp said disdainfully. Anyway, no matter what, it's always good to be careful. Bai Qianjiao, indeed, didn't believe that Ling Xiao could reach the level of the 10 great phoenixes. However, she felt that Ling Xiao's cultivation was definitely not weaker than the two of them. Don't worry, Qianjiao. Even if that Ling Xiao really dares to go to Magic City, I'll make sure he doesn't return. Riding a tall warhorse side by side with Bai Qianjiao and the red carp was a young man in his 20s. If Ling Xiao was here, he would definitely recognize that this person was the Peacock Phoenix, Konghe. The Divine Phoenix Empire's 10 great phoenixes were all younger than 30 years old. This Peacock Phoenix, Konghe, was only 22 years old. However, his cultivation had already reached the level of half-step Grotto Heaven Realm. Although this cultivation was ranked the lowest among the 10 great phoenixes, compared to other martial artists of the same age, he was really very strong. He had always been pursuing Bai Qianjiao. Therefore, this time he also followed Bai Qianjiao and the red carp back to Magic City, hoping to make these two proud. After all, he was a noble of the Divine Phoenix Empire's Peacock clan. His face was still very bright. Bai Qianjiao smiled and glanced at Konghe. Thank you, Konghe. This time, you're willing to accompany the two of us back to Magic City. Actually, she didn't have any feelings for Konghe. Although he was considered one of the outstanding young martial artists, Bai Qianjiao liked another person more. Ever since that person appeared in her life, he had completely captured her heart. However, there were some things that she couldn't say. The current he was still someone she couldn't afford to provoke. Senior sister, why are you being so polite with him? The Peacock Phoenix will become my senior sister's husband sooner or later. The red carp laughed at the side. Don't talk nonsense. Magic City is in front. Let's speed up. Bai Qianjiao's heart was in a mess. Her legs squeezed the horse's abdomen, and she sped up. At this time, the sky had already darkened. They should indeed speed up. Bai Qianjiao had a lot of things on her mind. The red carp and Konghe were in high spirits, especially Konghe. In his opinion, what *T Heroes Gathering was just a game for children. As long as he made a move, wouldn't the first place be easily obtained? After all, this Heroes Gathering required martial artists below the age of 30 to participate. As far as he knew, in the Heavenly Dragon Continent, among the martial artists below the age of 30, there was no one who was his opponent. This was the conclusion of the Divine Phoenix Empire and the True Demons Empire's intelligence system. He had no reason to not believe it. However, he didn't know that Ling Xiao had already arrived at the Divine Phoenix Continent. Moreover, he had already taken control of Langton City and was rushing in the direction of Magic City. He also didn't know that after Ling Xiao came to the Divine Phoenix Continent, he had already killed 2 martial artists who were at the early stage of the Grotto Heaven Realm. The current Ling Xiao was no longer someone that Konghe could control. Holding hands with the Moon Lady, they flew in the sky. Looking down at Magic City below, Ling Xiao was filled with emotions. Scenes of the past couldn't help but appear in front of his eyes. Back then, he was just a little beggar who could be bullied. His daily goal was to live. Chapter 1167. At that time, in Ling Xiao's eyes, those practitioners were all unreachable existences. Just by casually moving their hands, they would have ample food and clothing. At that time, he wholeheartedly wanted to practice martial arts so that he could eat his fill. Later on, when he arrived at Ling family, he was bullied, but because he had awakened the mountain river martial spirit, he became more radiant. From then on, he fought his way up. Ling family, Sky Cloud City, then Yuehua School, then the entire sacred dynasty. Today, he was not only heaven's chosen son, he was also the most outstanding practitioner among the younger generation in Sky Dragon Continent. But he who had been to Divine Phoenix Continent knew clearly that this was just the beginning. He couldn't relax. After completing the matters here, he still had to continue walking on his own path as a practitioner. The unknown world was waiting for him to explore. Outside Devil City, the sea was turbulent. In the midst of the chaos, there were a few deserted islands which were filled with monsters. However, these monsters had become the delicacies of the army stationed here. They had already stayed here for 2 days. Although it was a little dull, but the soldiers' morale was high. They were waiting to attack together with their king. In their vision, there was a huge silhouette which was like a ferocious beast in the night, Devil City. They're here. The army commander Qin suddenly stood up and looked at the 2 figures in the sky. Brothers, hurry up and eat your fill. Following this, we will have a blood-boiling battle with Dragon King Tian. Once we take down Devil City, it will be our victory. Yes, after holding it in for 2 days, everyone was full of energy. When they saw Ling Xiao appear, they were naturally very happy. They didn't forget the reason why they followed Ling Xiao here. It wasn't for eating, drinking, and having fun. The sky was bright and Devil City was as usual. If there was any change, it would be that today all the young practitioners in Sky Dragon Continent who were below 30 years old would participate in the tournament Heroes Gathering. This was similar to the martial arts festival of the Sacred Dynasty. It looked like true Devil Empire's thinking was very clear. They wanted to replace the Sacred Dynasty's position and become the true ruler of Sky Dragon Continent. Because it was the first convention, the true Devil Empire paid more attention to it. At this moment, the streets and alleys were bustling with activity. People had just woken up early in the morning and were ready to go to the big square in Shanghai to watch the show. Although today was only a warm-up for the Heroes Club and not an official competition, there were still wonderful performances. It was good to watch the fun. Hey, have you heard? One of the Divine Phoenix Empire's 10 great phoenixes, the Peacock Phoenix Sun, has actually come to our Shanghai. Those who are well informed were showing off their news at the breakfast stalls. Are you serious? The Divine Phoenix Empire is much stronger than our true Devil Empire. That Peacock Phoenix Sun is one of the most outstanding figures in the younger generation of the Divine Phoenix Empire. What is he doing here? Could it be that you're also here to participate in the Heroes' Assembly? The person next to him asked curiously. That's not it. I heard that he came back with Bai Qinjiao and Hong Li, the 2 great beauties. He probably likes one of them, so he helped to promote them. A well-informed person analyzed. TSK, going to the Divine Phoenix Empire is really different. They actually brought back such a big shot. Amazing. Yeah, if this Peacock Phoenix Sun wants to participate in the Heroes Club, I'm afraid none of us humans can stop him. Just thinking about it makes me sad. I wonder what happened to that heaven's chosen child. It's that guy called Ling Xiao who got first place in the martial arts festival. I heard that he died in the war. I'm not sure. Some also said that he went to the Divine Phoenix Empire. However, this person has no background and is so high profile. He probably died a long time ago. Even if he didn't die, he can't be compared to the young warriors of the Sea Clan, not to mention the Peacock Phoenix Sun. Yeah, we humans might really be on the decline. Although the Sea Clan occupied most of the territory of the Heavenly Dragon Continent, the majority of the population was still humans. After all, due to the special body of the Sea Clan, Most of them were unable to stay on land for long periods of time. This large number of humans formed the lowest level of the current True Devil Empire. They were doing work that was even more tiring than animals, but the things they obtained were the least. Many people still remembered the heaven's chosen child, Ling Xiao, who shone brightly at the martial arts festival. Many people placed the hope of humanity's revival on that youth. However, almost a year had passed. It was unlikely that these ordinary people would know about Ling Xiao's situation. Many people thought that Ling Xiao might have died. Of course, there were also people who prayed silently in their hearts. They prayed that Ling Xiao could create another miracle, so that humans could at least live openly in their own country and not be treated like slaves or animals by others. Rumble! Suddenly, a loud rumbling sound came from the horizon. The earth shook because of it. The people who were chatting and hurrying looked in that direction, curiously. It was a pity that the tall city walls blocked their line of sight. Some experienced people directly pressed their ears to the ground to listen. It seems to be the sound of mounts. It's an army. I'm afraid the number of people is no less than 50,000. That person stood up and exclaimed, "Is there going to be a war?" The hearts of the commoners started to tense up. Although they were now living like dogs, they were still unwilling to go to war from the bottom of their hearts, because war meant death. Many warriors jumped to a high place and looked into the distance. A black cloud of smoke and dust swept over. It was really an army. In addition to the ones on land, there were more than 10 giant ships sailing towards Mo. The huge cannons on them looked very terrifying. These cannons could release an astonishing amount of energy, which was not inferior to the attack of a Grotto Heaven realm warrior. There were many arrays on the giant ships, which were continuously absorbing energy from the outside world. At the same time, it consumed a lot of spirit stones. What's going on? Where exactly did this army come from? On the city tower, the soldiers holding monoculars had already seen the army in the distance. That banner it's the banner of the heaven's chosen child. In order to let the people of Tianlong continent know whose army it was, Ling Xiao deliberately had the words, "Heaven's chosen child," embroidered on it. It didn't matter if it looked good or not, as long as it was clear. The hearts of the soldiers suddenly rose to their throats. Even an idiot knew why the heaven's chosen child had brought an army to Mo. Do quick! Close the city gates and quickly report to the Sea Emperor. The so-called Sea Emperor was the emperor of the true demon empire. It was mainly to distinguish the true demon emperor from the true demon emperor. Therefore, it was simply called the Sea Emperor. The current Sea Emperor was Jiao Batian, who had been killed by Ling Xiao. The gates of Mo were quickly closed. There were clear inscriptions on the heavy gates. It was obvious that this was not an ordinary city gate. Otherwise, any celestial realm warrior could destroy it. Then it would be meaningless. Chapter 1168. There weren't many guards in Magic City, only 50,000. 20,000 of them were Sea Clan troops, and 30,000 were fake troops. And the closest city to Magic City, Landon City, had nearly 100,000 fake troops stationed there. The so-called fake troops were an army formed by human surrenders. Their fighting strength was really not worth complimenting. Perhaps True Devil Empire had never thought that such a large army would appear from Divine Phoenix Empire. They had placed most of their troops on the border facing Northern Han. Especially in the past few days, Northern Han had frequently moved. They had just transferred 10,000 elites from Magic City to assist. But now, Magic City's military strength was empty. If the other party wanted to attack, they might not be able to defend. The army finally appeared in front of the people, only 1 mile away from Magic City. One of the light cavalry units stepped out and approached the city. They stopped about 200 meters away from the city. Citizens of Magic City and fake troops, listen up. Heaven's Chosen One is leading an army to recover Magic City. Those who want to surrender should hurry up. Otherwise, the day the city is breached will be the day of your death. Ling Xiao was indeed a human, but if some people insisted on being dogs for Sea Clan, then he would not hesitate to kill them. There was no need to show mercy. The one who shouted was Meng Tong. Not only was his voice loud, it also contained abundant heaven's origin energy, to the extent that everyone in Magic City could hear it. It was as loud as thunder. There's really going to be a war. This time, the people finally knew that it was not an illusion. The army outside the city did not come with good intentions. However, their goal seemed to be to overthrow True Devil Empire. For many humans, this was actually something they had always dreamed of. However, when it really came to this, they couldn't help but feel nervous. Most people still chose to wait and see. Those who originally planned to go to the plaza all fled back home and hid. There was also a portion of people who wholeheartedly hoped that Heaven's Chosen One would attack Magic City, preparing to cooperate with Heaven's Chosen One to drive away Sea Clan. Some of these people were sincerely unwilling to be oppressed by the Sea Clan. Of course, there was also a portion of people who wanted to earn political capital as soon as possible. After all, with Magic City destroyed, True Devil Empire was probably not far from destruction. At that time, Heaven's Chosen One would definitely establish a new dynasty. If they could join this group earlier, they would be able to be put in an important position earlier. What should we do, Captain? On the city tower, many people panicked. Gee! Suddenly, a ray of light flashed without warning, and the panicked human soldier was pierced through. It was a general of the sea race. He used his trident to pick up the human soldier and roared, "Trash! If anyone dares to boost the morale of others and diminish their own prestige, I will kill him." The human soldiers were angry but didn't dare to say anything. This was not the first time someone had been killed. Moreover, the reason for his death was simply absurd. That soldier was just afraid and didn't say anything rebellious. In the end, he was killed as if he was a chicken. What are you looking at? Organize your archers and prepare to fire. The Sea Race's military general was obviously of a higher rank than the guard captain. In addition, he was also a member of the Sea Race, so there was no problem in giving orders. However, the Sea Clan's military general did not expect that Ling Xiao had arrived in Demonic City 2 days earlier and had already contacted the Resistance Nation to arrange for his people to enter. Before his order could be carried out, his head had already been cut off by a sword. The one who made the move was a very delicate-looking soldier. She looked like a girl. In fact, she was a girl in disguise. Her real identity was Cold Plum. With her here, the guards of Demonic City existed in name only. Open the city gates and let the army in. Otherwise, I will kill all of you. Cold Plum had always been straightforward. She did not have Ling Xiao's eloquence, so she could only threaten with force. Open the gates! Open the gates! Didn't you hear me? The guards reacted and hurriedly shouted. The person in front of them could even easily kill the Sea Race's military general. Wouldn't it be easy for her to kill them? Very good. As long as you cooperate, the Chosen One will not mistreat you. Cold Plum watched as the heavy city gates slowly opened and the army outside the city swarmed in. She finally heaved a sigh of relief. This was the mission Ling Xiao gave her. If she couldn't complete it, she would feel sorry for Ling Xiao. Almost at the same time, some people had already arrived at the palace. At this moment, Sea Emperor Jiao Batian, who was under Ling Xiao's control, was holding a banquet for his officials. The heroes' gathering was about to begin. It was said that it was to reward the officials who had worked hard in the process. Of course, this was also a plan that Ling Xiao had thought of in advance. He had invited all the Sea Race officials from the nearby cities to Demonic City, preparing to catch them all in one fell swoop. Even though Demonic Jiao and Land and City Lord Jiao Lai were not present, some people were puzzled and angry. However, at this moment, no one thought that the two of them had already been killed. They only thought that the two of them did not give Jiao Batian any face. After all, they were all from the same family, and their cultivations were similar. Jiao Batian was the Sea Emperor, but they were only city lords. They would probably be dissatisfied. Your Majesty, this is bad. This is bad. Perhaps it was because the palace was too sturdy, or perhaps it was because the soundproofing was too good, or perhaps it was because the noise here was too loud. The people present did not hear what was happening outside the city. They also did not hear Meng Tong's voice. It wasn't until a eunuch scrambled into the room in a panic that everyone realized something was wrong. What's the matter? Why are you in such a panic? Where is your manners? Don't you know that today is the Sea Emperor's banquet? The True Demon's Empire's #1 devil general, Sha Tongtian, had an ugly expression on his face. He was just in the midst of celebrating when this eunuch suddenly came in. Wasn't this bad luck? It's fine. Tell me what happened, Jiao Batian asked. Your Majesty, an army has arrived outside the city. They are carrying the banner of the heavenly dragon continent's heaven's chosen child. They are very aggressive. The eunuch wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and said in a trembling voice. Hearing this, many people's expressions changed. Sha Tongtian stood up abruptly and was about to go out to check the situation. General Sha, it's just a few small thieves. Is there a need for you to go out personally? Today, His Majesty, you and I, Kong He, are here. What can mere thieves do to us? It was worth mentioning that as one of the 10 great phoenix sons of the divine Phoenix Empire, Kong He was also invited to this banquet. Hong Li and Bai Qinjiao were both present. After all, the two of them were the pride of the True Demon's Empire and the role models of the younger generation. Peacock Phoenix Son, are you saying that we're not going to do anything about this? Sha Tongtian asked. Let your subordinates take a look. Bring the heads of those vermin over and make them into dishes. Wouldn't that be better? Kong, he said with a smile. He did not believe that anyone would have the guts to attack Demonic City. Chapter 1169. Hee, as expected of Peacock Huangzi. She's able to remain calm even if Mount Tai collapses in front of her. Unlike me, I actually panicked when I heard such a small thing. Sha Tongtian sat down and smiled awkwardly. He felt that he was a little too anxious. The rest of the people present looked at Kong He and praised him in their hearts. This Huangzi from a large country was indeed impressive. She was able to remain calm when she heard that there was an army surrounding the city. She even wanted to use the enemy's head as an accompaniment to wine. She was indeed domineering, arrogant, and powerful. Perhaps this was a person with strength. Normal people would not dare to say such words. Pass down my orders. Bring that bastard's head to go with the wine. Sha Tongtian said to a deputy general beside him. Understood. The deputy general turned around and left. The trembling eunuch, standing there, hesitated. He wanted to say something, but Jiao Batian glared at him and he immediately shut his mouth. Jiao Batian was naturally under Ling Xiao's control, so he had to do things for Ling Xiao. You too get lost. Don't stand here and be an eyesore. Unless someone attacks the palace, don't disturb us. Otherwise, this Huangzi will take your life. Kong He looked coldly at the eunuch and scolded him. You can leave first. Jiao Batian waved his hand, indicating for the eunuch to leave. All right, Peacock Huangzi, don't be angry. Everyone, don't panic. Let's just eat and drink here and wait for the news of victory. Jiao Batian smiled, raised his wine cup and toasted with everyone. However, when he was drinking, no one noticed the ruthlessness that flashed past the corner of his eyes. Here, it could be said that half of the True Devil Empire's loyal subjects were here. If they were really wiped out by Ling Xiao, then the True Devil Empire would really be finished. Everyone continued to drink and chat merrily. Kong He, on the other hand, kept moving closer to Bai Qinjiao. He even vowed solemnly, the two of you don't need to worry. If we were in the divine Phoenix Empire, perhaps I, Kong He, wouldn't dare to say such big words. But in this insignificant devil city, with me, Kong He here, there really isn't anyone who would dare to make a fuss, even if they're stronger than me. Their family background, can't be compared to mine. Unless they plan to become fire and water with the Divine Phoenix Empire's Peacock clan. Kong, he was relying on two things. One was his strength. The other point was his family background. After all, he was a member of the Divine Phoenix Empire's Peacock clan. By the time Sha Tongtian's deputy arrived at the city gates, Ling Zhao's army had already entered the city and had officially taken over the city gates' defense. Seeing that the situation was not good, the deputy general turned around and wanted to escape. However, he was swept over by Xia Li's tail, the deputy general's, of his body. In his heart he was cursing Kong He. Was this a petty thief? If this is a small thief, then you, Kong He, are really not even worth a fart. Heaven's chosen one, I was also forced to do this. The deputy general shouted loudly. Is Ling Xiao asked indifferently. The deputy general hesitated and didn't dare to speak. He was considering whether he would be killed on the spot if he told Kong He the truth. Speak! The cold voice penetrated the deputy general's eardrums and seeped into his body. He suddenly felt as if his limbs and bones had been frozen. That feeling of fear and discomfort almost made him collapse. I'll speak. The first demon general and peacock, Huangzi, asked me to take your head and make it into a dish. After saying this, the deputy general's heart sank to the bottom of the valley. He didn't know what would happen to him, but he had no choice but to say it. He knew he would die if he didn't. Very good. You're obedient. Ling Zhao's lips curled into a cold smile. Kong He was really arrogant. He wanted to use his head to make a dish. Interesting. He threw the deputy general to the back and handed him to Meng Tong. Then he waved his hand and said, Qin Hua, give me 1,000 men. Take the rest and quickly take control of Devil City. Try not to cause any damage. After all, Devil City may become our capital in the future. Yes, sir. Qin Hua immediately gave 1,000 men to follow Ling Xiao, Cold Plum, and Haim Miankeo to the palace. Then he, Zhuge Ming, Zhang Yufei, and Li Ruguang began to suppress Devil City. Since they had already entered the city, the small number of people from the sea race was no threat at all. More importantly, there were more than 10,000 people in the puppet army who had changed sides. The rest were all cowards and had long scattered. Only a small number of them were determined to be the lackeys of the sea race. They really couldn't hold on. With Xia Li's help, Qin Hua could easily settle this matter. As for the Moon Lady, she hadn't shown herself. She would be doing Ling Xiao a great favor by blocking the Yin-Yang Demon King. Although the Yin-Yang Demon King had yet to appear, no one knew where he was hiding, nor did they know when he would appear. It was easier to deal with the Moon Lady hiding in the dark. Let's go, Cold Plum, Ming Kong. Didn't Peacock Huangzi want my head as a side dish? I'll deliver it to your door. Free shipping. Ling Xiao sneered. The demonic wolf beneath him let out a deep growl, as if it could feel the anger in Ling Xiao's body. The 1,000 cavalrymen were all tall and big demonic wolves. Their fur was dark and shiny, and they looked extremely ferocious and mighty. Although many commoners were hiding in their homes, they couldn't help but look outside through the windows or cracks. What a terrifying army! Is that the legendary Heaven's chosen one? He's so young. I heard that he's only 16 years old this year. He's really a young hero. I thought that he had died long ago. Now, it seems that his achievements are more outstanding than by Qian Jiao and Hong Li. He might even be more powerful than Peacock Huangzi. That's right. This majestic aura makes one's blood boil. With one command, the army will obey. This is what a king should look like. The commoners were discussing in their hearts. They all knew that the Sea Clan wouldn't be able to defend Moda City. They had actually allowed someone to enter the city so easily. It seemed that the new true demon empire was far inferior to the true demon empire of tens of thousands of years ago. At this time, the palace was still filled with singing and dancing. There were signs of joy and relaxation. However, as the 1,000 cavalry continued to approach, the ground shook more and more violently. The people at the banquet finally frowned. After a while, there were even faint battle cries outside, causing the faces of many people at the banquet to change drastically. Something's not right. General Shark, hurry up and contact your deputy general to see what's going on. That's right. I'm afraid that this time it's not a thief, but a real army. At the banquet, many people stood up. They were clearly worried. If the army really entered Moda City, then they might not be able to keep their lives. Chapter 1170. How is that possible? Northern Han and Tianli are the only two countries that can pose a threat to us. Tianli is our puppet. They wouldn't dare to do this, and it's impossible for them to do so. As for Northern Han, according to the frontline reports, they have always been fighting with the army at the border. How could they come here? Sha Tongtian shook his head. That's right. Do you think it's the Divine Phoenix Empire's army? Peacock Huangzi, Kong He laughed disdainfully. If it is, then it's better. With me here, I want to see who has the guts to attack an ally of the Divine Phoenix Empire. That's right, First Demon General. Why worry? With my senior brother Kong He here, even if it's really wolves, jackals, tigers, and leopards, there's no need to worry. This group of people probably heard that Peacock Huangzi is here, so they specially came to pay their respects and apologize. Hong Li said with a smile, unlike Bai Qianjiao's indifference towards Peacock Huangzi. Hong Li's worship of Peacock Huangzi was almost blind. Peacock Huangzi was the absolute leader of the younger generation in terms of strength and status. Who dared to not give him face? Ha ha ha, that's right, that's right. With Peacock Huangzi here, these vermin won't dare to mess around. At this time, Jiao Batian, who was controlled by Ling Xiao, also took the opportunity to say something. Since he said so, even if Sha Tongtian was still worried, he was embarrassed to say anything. Otherwise, it would be fear. If he were to cower in front of so many people, it would really be embarrassing. Outside the palace, the security was tight, and they were all guards of the sea race. Although they were very strong, this was actually a good thing for Ling Xiao, because he didn't have to worry about hurting his own people. A terrifying aura accompanied the 1,000 armored cavalry as they approached the palace. The eyes of the sea race warriors guarding there revealed a trace of fear. They hurriedly took out their bows and aimed at the invading cavalry. Release the arrows! An army that dared to barge into the palace must be a rebel, so there was no need to warn them. They could directly shoot them with arrows. However, just as the arrows pierced through the air, they suddenly stopped in midair. Then they turned around and shot toward the guards. When a martial artist reached a certain level of strength, it was very easy for them to use their inner strength or soul force to forcefully change the direction of movement of an object. Kill! A cold voice came from Ling Xiao's mouth. The cavalry behind him transformed into a huge iron spear and pierced towards the palace gate. Boom! Before the huge palace door could close, it was smashed to pieces by the terrifying impact. The combined attack of 1,000 cavalrymen was truly horrifying. This sort of destructive power was comparable to a Grotto Heaven realm martial artist. Not only did it shatter the palace gate, but even the city wall connected to the palace gate collapsed, turning into ruins. These 1,000 people were carefully trained by Qinhua. They had been training according to the battle formation Ling Xiao had given them. This kind of battle formation could condense the power of 1,000 people into a single point, producing a terrifying destructive power. Although it was only a trial today, the effect was really better than expected. Many of the guards at the gate were killed by the terrifying impact. The cavalrymen rushed into the palace and began to clear the path for Ling Xiao. After all, this was the Sea Clan's palace. Therefore, the people inside were either Sea Clan martial artists or human lackeys who were absolutely loyal to the Sea Clan. These people were all enemies. On the battlefield, they must all die. The cavalrymen's combat power was too strong. The palace guards were simply no match for them. In addition, Haim, Miankeo, and Cold Plum participated in the battle. This was basically a one-sided massacre. What was interesting was that the experts in the palace were drinking and having fun in the depths of the palace. Ling Xiao rode on his demonic wolf and slowly walked into the palace. He coughed softly and said, "What are you doing? Why are you so impulsive? Why did you even break the gate? In the future, there might be people living here. Be careful." Although he said that, he was still very proud of himself. His battle formation complemented Qinhua and Jining's training method. The army that he trained was much stronger than an ordinary army. This was something that he should be proud of. The palace was in a complete mess. Even if it was a secluded place, it knew that things were not good. Sha, Tongtian, Konghe, Hongli, and the others all walked out. Jiao Batian, who was controlled by Ling Xiao, stood behind Sha Tongtian. His cold eyes were looking at the back of Sha Tongtian's weak neck. As long as Ling Xiao was willing, he could kill Sha Tongtian at any time. The powerful demonic wolf cavalryman killed the palace guards without leaving a single armor behind. The blood-stained battle armors seemed even more ruthless. The sun shone down from the sky and reflected on the battle armors. There was a powerful, baleful aura that made everyone tremble in fear. Sha Tongtian's face turned gloomy. Konghe's expression was not very good either. Such an iron-blooded battle team had actually appeared in front of their eyes. Could it be that Demonic City had already fallen? However, how could the arrogant Peacock Phoenix son be afraid because of this? He slowly walked out of the crowd and looked at the indifferent Ling Xiao with a gloomy face. He coldly shouted, "Ling Xiao, you really have guts. True Devil Empire is an ally of Divine Phoenix Empire. Without His Majesty's permission, you actually dare to come to Divine Phoenix Empire's demonic city and behave atrociously? Aren't you afraid that His Majesty will blame you? Ling Xiao? So that's the heaven's chosen one, Ling Xiao. He looks so young. He should only be 16 or 17 years old. Who would have thought that such an iron-blooded cavalry team would listen to such a young man?" Ling Xiao didn't even look at Konghe. He looked straight at Jiao Batian and said indifferently, "Jiao Batian, your Sea clan invaded my human territory, destroyed my sacred dynasty's foundation, killed my human warriors, and enslaved my human citizens. Today, I, Ling Xiao, as the heaven's chosen one, have specially come to collect your debts." Seeing that Ling Xiao didn't even look at him, Konghe felt that he had lost face. He suddenly realized that he was just like an arrogant clown, making a fool of himself in front of everyone. Previously at the banquet, he had boasted in front of the woman he liked and the people of True Devil Empire that as long as he appeared, even if it was the Divine Phoenix Empire's army, he would definitely be able to scare them off easily. He couldn't lose face. Even if he was facing these iron-blooded cavalrymen filled with baleful aura, he still had to appear. Otherwise, what would happen to his Peacock Phoenix son's face? What about the dignity of his Peacock clan? Hong Li also walked out. She stood beside Konghe and said to Ling Xiao, "Ling Xiao, I know that you've just been conferred the title of Heavenly Dragon King, but your territory is in the East County, not here. Hurry up and leave. Otherwise, my senior brother Kong, he only needs to say a word and your title of Grass Head King will be abolished." She might have felt very proud, because she had the support of the Peacock Phoenix Sun. Standing beside the Peacock Phoenix Sun, she felt incomparable glory. Chapter 1171. Sensing the arrogance and domineering aura of the Peacock Phoenix Sun, Red Li's heart rippled with love. Thus, there were times when she was very confused as to why her senior sister, by Qianjiao, did not understand and was unwilling to be with Konghe. The Peacock Phoenix Sun was so majestic. Even this sort of iron-blooded cavalry would not dare to not give him face. The Peacock Phoenix Sun? Haha, I'm really scared. How do you compare to the righteous alliances Jia Yun and Jia Lin? I even dared to kill them, so who do you think you are? Ling Xiao finally turned to Red Li and the Peacock Phoenix Sun, but his disdainful rebuke caused everyone's hearts to tremble. This fellow was truly arrogant, not even fearing the Peacock Phoenix Sun. Just who had given him such courage? Kong, he was infuriated. Who does Jia Yun think he is? He's just a good-for-nothing who relies on the protection of the righteous alliance. Comparing me to him is an insult to me. Kong, he angrily roared. Is that so? But in my view, there's no difference between you and him. Both of you rely on your background to act tyrannically. In fact, your background doesn't even seem to be as good as Jia Yun's. Ling Xiao disdainfully said, You say that I rely on my background? Then do you dare to fight one-on-one with me? Kong, he sneered. You're just a piece of trash who relies on your numbers. What right do you have to mock me? So what if I rely on my numbers? If you have the ability, why don't you go find someone else? Ling Xiao scornfully glanced at Kong He. Hurry up and get out of the way, or else I'll cripple you as well. Don't think that I don't dare. It was very easy for Ling Xiao to kill Kong He at this moment. It was just that he was too lazy to do it. He had already killed several Grotto Heaven realm martial artists, so how could he care about a trifling, half-step Grotto Heaven realm martial artist? Ling Xiao, you should understand that I'm a genius that the peacock race has painstakingly raised. If something happens to me here, the peacock race will not forgive you. Our peacock race is different from the righteous alliance and has no internal strife. When the time comes, we will definitely fight to the death with you. Seeing that Ling Xiao didn't fall for his trick, Kong he was furious. He could only use the peacock race as a shield. Oh, so what? Ling Xiao chuckled. How is it? I advise you to get down from that demonic wolf and apologize to us in person. Then get the hell out of Shanghai. As for the damaged property, we'll give you a list in the future. You just have to compensate us according to the price. Even at such a time, Kong he still had not forgotten his pride as a divine phoenix nobleman. He thought that he could control everything. This made Ling Xiao feel somewhat amused. Aren't these people a little too arrogant? Kong, I don't want to talk nonsense. Don't put on the airs of a noble in front of me. It's useless. I'll count to 3. If you don't shut your stinky mouth and scram, I'll cut off your ears as punishment. Ling Xiao's voice was cold and stern. He didn't have a good impression of Kong He. This peacock race had always been against him in the Divine Phoenix Empire. Back at Ling Yu's residence, he had crippled Kong Yu. Even if he cut off Kong He's ears today, it really wouldn't be much. But he still didn't want to do that. He still wanted to give the other party a chance. In any case, Kong He hadn't attacked him, so he didn't want to go too far. His calm and indifferent voice caused the entire place to fall into a deathly silence. Hong Li's face was filled with disbelief. Everyone else was also dumbfounded, including Bai Qianjiao. Although she felt that Ling Xiao wasn't afraid of Kong He, she didn't dare to casually touch him. After all, Kong He wasn't just a member of the peacock race. He was also one of the 10 great phoenix sons personally conferred by the Divine Phoenix Emperor. Killing Kong He would not only offend the peacock race, but also the Divine Phoenix Emperor. Ling Xiao shouldn't be so arrogant, right? Unfortunately, she was wrong. Ridiculously wrong. On the surface, Ling Xiao hadn't fallen out with the Divine Phoenix Emperor, but in reality, because of the Northern Desert incident, they were like fire and water. So what if she provoked him? So what? Could it be that the Emperor would be grateful to him if he didn't provoke him? On Kong He's face, there was not only surprise, but also anger. And this anger probably occupied most of it. He couldn't believe what he had heard. Ling Xiao actually said that he would cut off his ears. No one had ever dared to threaten him like this, including the 2 princes, Feng Yinshan and Feng Minkishan. Even the Divine Phoenix Emperor didn't dare, because those people were afraid of the power of the family behind him. Was this Ling Xiao crazy? Ling Xiao, do you know what you're doing? If you dare to touch Senior Brother Kong, the Emperor, won't forgive you. What Heavenly Dragon King? That's just a title. You can take it away, just like that. Hong Li shouted loudly. Kong, he was the perfect young man in her heart. He was a genius, and the man she had always wanted to marry. She was proud of herself for being able to become friends with such a man. In fact, no matter if it was in Divine Phoenix Empire or anywhere else, when she met with trouble, Kong he could easily settle it with a single sentence. She remembered clearly that once in Phoenix Academy, a small noble tried to take liberties with her. At that time, whether it was strength or influence, she couldn't compare to the other party. With just a single sentence from Kong, that small noble, knelt on the ground and slapped himself more than 100 times until his face was swollen. That night, she gave her body to Kong he. Only she and Kong he knew about this matter. She was willing, no one forced her. She just treated Kong he as her Prince Charming. Even if Kong he clearly liked her senior sister and pursued her senior sister, she didn't care. She was willing to become Kong he's lover, but she didn't expect. Today, facing the Prince Charming in her heart, Ling Xiao actually dared to be so rampant. She was completely shocked. Ling Xiao ignored Hong Li's roar. He only looked at Kong he indifferently. A drop of cold sweat seeped out of Kong he's forehead. Obviously, he was very nervous in his heart. But he definitely wouldn't allow himself to lower his head in front of Ling Xiao. He released an icy aura and stared coldly at Ling Xiao. "Brat, if you don't kill me today, I will definitely kill you." Sigh. Ling Xiao sighed softly. Actually, he really didn't plan to deal with Kong he. But this brat was too insensible. He lightly waved his hand, and Cold Plum, who was standing beside him, had already scurried out, like a cold ghost. When Cold Plum returned to her original position, the dagger in her hand was tinged with dark red. On the other side, 2 ears flew in midair and finally fell to the ground. Ah! A mournful scream sounded in the quiet palace. Everyone who saw this scene trembled violently in their hearts. He really did that. He really cut off Kong he's ears. And it was actually so easy. That beautiful sword light, like a plum blossom, became an indelible mark in these people's hearts. Chapter 1172. Kong, he covered his ears with both hands and screamed miserably. Cold, sweat dripped from his forehead like beans. His face was pale, and he no longer had his previous, awe-inspiring and domineering aura. At this moment, he was no longer a phoenix. He was a loser, a complete loser, battered and exhausted. Hong Li's body was bone-chillingly cold. She touched the blood on her face with her hand in a daze, as if trying to figure out if what she saw was real or an illusion. No, it's impossible. How dare he? How dare he? Hong Li shook her head vigorously. She had completely lost her usual sharpness. Bai Qianjiao was also dumbfounded. However, there was a hint of splendor in her eyes. Back at the martial arts festival, that young man was just as arrogant and domineering as he was now. She suddenly felt that she might have underestimated Ling Xiao. Thinking back at the martial arts festival, Ling Xiao dared to argue with the sage emperor in front of so many martial artists of the Sky Dragon continent. He did not give him any face at all. How could such a person be afraid of a peacock phoenix? Are you serious? Sha Tongtian shuddered violently as he looked at Ling Xiao in horror. He was not worried about how Ling Xiao would deal with him. He was worried that something had happened to Peacock Phoenix in the capital of the True Demons Empire. How was he going to explain to the Peacock clan that his ears had been cut off? Explain to the Divine Phoenix Empire? After all, the True Demons Empire's current strength was not enough to contend with the Divine Phoenix Empire. Once they offended the Divine Phoenix Empire, even the Yin-Yang Demon King would not be able to stop the collapse of the True Demons Empire. You really dare to touch him? Sha Tongtian looked at Ling Xiao angrily. At this moment, he did not seem to understand the situation. Instead of worrying about the Divine Phoenix Empire's condemnation, he should think about how to survive Ling Xiao's wrath. Perhaps he did not know what kind of situation the True Demons Empire was in. He looked at Ling Xiao, and Ling Xiao looked back at him. Out of everyone present right now, Sha Tongtian was the strongest. He was also the biggest enemy right now. After all, Jiao Batian was already under his control, and he had no idea where the Yin-Yang Demon King was. As long as he could kill Sha Tongtian, taking over Shanghai would be a piece of cake. Battles in the profound world were often not based on the number of troops, but rather the strength of the masters on one side. The true demonic empire destroyed the sacred dynasty in that war. It was the same in the war in the northern desert. And today, the war started by Ling Shao was the same. Without the support of the Moon Maiden, without the supreme Holy Emperor leading the Northern Han army to attack the true Devil Empire, Ling Shao would never do such a thing. Because even if he had an army of 100,000, it was still no match for a Yin-Yang Demon King. First Devil General? Without the Yin-Yang Demon King and Lightning Demon King, you probably won't be able to be the #1 Demon General of the true Devil Empire for long. Why don't you just surrender and return to the Ocean of Storms, your old nest? That way, we won't have to hurt each other. Ling Shao looked at Sha Tongtian indifferently, making a final effort for peace. War wasn't that easy. Behind the scenes of war, there would definitely be a large number of deaths, including civilians and soldiers. If he could chase away the sea race peacefully, or merge with them, Ling Shao wouldn't object. Although he was domineering, he wasn't a complete tyrant. Sha Tongtian didn't speak, thinking. He was thinking about how to answer Ling Zhao's question. This was a question that wasn't easy to answer. If he answered wrongly, his head might be separated from his body. Sha Tongtian, if you dare to surrender, our peacock race won't let you off. Remember this. Ling Shao, if you have the ability, then kill me. Otherwise, I'll definitely teach you a good lesson. You, and the people around you, all of them will die. Just as Sha Tongtian was pondering over this problem, he let out a hysterical roar. Ha ha ha, you don't dare to kill me. You know how big of a disaster it will cause if you kill me. You're scared. Quietly looking at He, Ling Shao wondered if he had heard wrongly. In this day and age, there were people who begged for mercy. How could there be people who wanted to seek death like He? First Demon General. Our sea race army numbers in the millions, and we even have the Yin-Yang Demon King. How could we be afraid of a mere Ling Shao? No matter what, this Ling Shao must die. Otherwise, none of us here will be able to answer to the Peacock race and the Divine Phoenix Empire. Hong Li also shouted at Sha Tongtian with red eyes. Millions of troops? I'm afraid 600,000 of them are fake soldiers. Some of them are greedy and afraid of death, while others are just compromising. Do you really think they'll work for your sea race? Do you know why things went so smoothly for me today? It's because of their help. As for the Yin-Yang Demon King, I'm afraid he's too scared to show up right now. I killed the Lightning Demon King in front of so many people. Don't tell me you didn't see it? Even if you didn't see it, you should go and ask. Otherwise, you wouldn't be so stupid as to provoke me, right? Also, I don't mind telling you that Langdon City's city, Lord Jiaolai, and Devil Capital City's city, Lord Jiao Mo, have already been dealt with by me. Langdon City has long been occupied by the Sacred Dynasty's Restoration Empire. You can stop dreaming if you want to wait for reinforcements. Also, that Ouyang Wen from the Tianli Alliance was also killed by me. The Tianli Empire has long fallen into my hands. Northern Han and Tianli Empire have joined hands to attack the true Devil Empire. In addition to the betrayal of the fake soldiers, do you think you still have a chance of winning? No. You're talking nonsense. You must be talking nonsense. Hong Li shook her head. She didn't believe that this was true. How could Ling Shao be so terrifying, so powerful? It's up to you to believe it or not. As for the Peacock Phoenix Sun, do you really think that your title is so amazing? Ling Shao said disdainfully, I'm not afraid to tell you that I've already fallen out with the Divine Phoenix Emperor. This time, the one who conferred me the title of Heavenly Dragon King is the Crown Prince of the Secret Mountains. So don't use the Divine Phoenix Emperor to pressure me. He did those dirty things behind my back. I'm already giving him face by not finding him to settle the score. You still dare to mention him to me? You said that my title of Heavenly Dragon King was given by someone else and can be taken away at will. That's right, these words are very true. So, I might as well occupy the entire Heavenly Dragon continent and create a new empire, a new power. What do you think that Divine Phoenix Emperor will do when the time comes? Will he make an enemy out of my empire? Will he take the risk of being attacked by the Black Crow Empire and us to deal with me? Kong, you think too highly of yourself. In the eyes of a big shot, a small character like you isn't even worth mentioning. If you die, I can guarantee that the Divine Phoenix Emperor won't do anything for you. At most, he'll just hold a memorial service or something. Moreover, your Peacock clan will also be divided internally because of this. You might even completely decline and be kicked out of the Divine Phoenix Empire's noble ranks. Don't tell me you don't know that many middle nobles are eyeing this fat piece of meat, waiting for your clan to make a mistake. Chapter 1173. Ling Zhao's words made Kong. He trembled in fear. He felt as if he had been drenched in cold spring water. His heart was cold to the extreme. Sha Tongtian, what's your choice? Ling Xiao asked indifferently. His tone was indifferent, but there was an unquestionable tone in his voice. Sha Tongtian looked at Jiao Batian, still unable to make up his mind. You don't need to look at him. He's just my puppet now. Jiao Batian had already lost his value, so Ling Xiao decided to make things clear. Hearing this, everyone felt their hair stand on end. Ling Xiao actually controlled the Sea Emperor. He controlled the Emperor of the True Demon's empire. No wonder the Sea Emperor suddenly invited everyone to the banquet today. This was Ling Zhao's plan. Withdrawing his sole power, Jiao Batian instantly fell to the ground. In a moment, his corpse disintegrated. This scene made Sha Tongtian lose his spirit. He sighed in despair and said, Heaven's chosen one, this time our sea race has lost. I'm willing to let the sea race return to the stormy ocean. Very good. You made a good choice. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and said, However, this isn't enough. All of you must cripple your own cultivation. Otherwise, you know the consequences. Although Ling Xiao didn't want to start a massacre, he couldn't just let Sha Tongtian and the others go. If he let them go, what if they caused trouble? Therefore, the most direct method was to cripple their cultivation. Without these experts, the sea race wouldn't be able to do anything. Of course, who knew what would happen in the future? But that was a matter for the future. At the very least, Ling Xiao could drive these guys back to the stormy ocean, build fortifications, and rebuild the sacred dynasty. Of course, the country's name had to be changed. Everything had to be reformulated. In his new memories, he had a complete and effective political system that he could use as a reference. He believed that it would be very good. As for the country's name, he planned to simply call it the Celestial Empire. In the future, when he collected all the 9 primordial dragons, he would use them as the guardian beasts of the Celestial Empire. Then he could enter the heavens' chosen gate without worry. Of course, this was something to do in the future. Right now, he still had to deal with the sea race. There was no way he could kill them all. Even if he killed Sha Tongtian and the others, there would be more sea race members who would go against him. So, it was better to use peaceful means before resorting to force. As the number 1 devil general, he might not even know who Ling Xiao was in the past. He might have never placed Ling Xiao in his eyes. Who would have thought that their lives would be in Ling Xiao's hands today? This was truly ironic. Sha Tongtian looked at Ling Xiao and asked, What if we don't want to cripple our own cultivation? Sure, but I'm not so kind as to help you cripple your cultivation. Because it's too troublesome, I might choose a massacre. I'll give you a quarter of an hour. If there's someone here who hasn't had his cultivation crippled, then I'll have to do it myself. Ling Zhao's voice was still indifferent, as if he was talking about something very normal. He now had such power and ability, so he could be so domineering. Time starts. Ling Xiao said indifferently, No need to consider. I'll listen to you. Sha Tongtian said suddenly. You're smart and tactful. Ling Xiao smiled. Sha Tongtian laughed bitterly. Was he smart? He was just helpless. He had seen Ling Xiao's arrogant and domineering way of doing things. Therefore, he believed that Ling Xiao would really dare to slaughter all the sea race members here. As a member of the sea race, Sha Tongtian did not care about the lives of humans. However, he cared a lot about the lives of his fellow sea race members. Therefore, no matter what, he only had one choice, and that was to destroy his own cultivation. Let's begin. If you can't do it, I'll help you personally. Sha Tongtian knew that not every sea race cultivator here had the same resolve as him. Therefore, he had to ensure that everyone's cultivation was destroyed. Otherwise, as long as one person did not do it, everything he had done would be for naught. I'll go first. Bai Qianjiao took a deep breath. Suddenly, she raised her hand and slapped down on her heaven meridian. You can forget about it. Before Bai Qianjiao could do anything, Ling Xiao gently waved his hand and stopped her. Why? Because I think you're a good woman. Unfortunately, we're enemies now. I hope you understand that if the sea race wants to live on the heavenly dragon continent, I won't object. However, you can invade. Ling Xiao had a very good impression of Bai Qianjiao. He could not bear to see Bai Qianjiao's cultivation being destroyed. What about my junior sister? Bai Qianjiao asked. She can't do it. You've seen what happened just now. I hate women like your junior sister. She must destroy her own cultivation. Ling Xiao said indifferently. Ling Xiao, I'm from the Phoenix Academy. How dare you ask me to destroy my cultivation? Hong Li was terrified. She had cultivated for so many years. It was not easy for her to achieve her current cultivation. Was she going to destroy her cultivation and cultivate again? That would be too cruel. Don't mention the Phoenix Academy to me. Otherwise, I'll kill you right now. Ling Xiao said coldly. I can't watch my junior sister's cultivation being destroyed while I'm safe and sound. Thank you for your kindness. Bai Qianjiao sighed. She felt a trace of warmth in her heart. Unfortunately, if something happened to Hong Li while she was safe and sound, she would not have a good ending when she returned to the sea race. Therefore, she could only choose to destroy her own cultivation. It's up to you. Ling Xiao also felt that it was a pity, but he could not give in. In the end, Bai Qianjiao's slender, jade-like hand still managed to strike her own heavenly meridian. Dark red blood flowed from her mouth as her heavenly origin energy instantly dissipated. Right now, she was even weaker than an ordinary person. Ling Xiao could not bear to see Bai Qianjiao like this. He went forward to support her and stuffed a pill into her mouth when no one was paying attention. Why do you have to do this? The pill was to protect the heavenly meridian. It would speed up the recovery of Bai Qianjiao's destroyed cultivation. This was Ling Xiao's little willfulness. Bai Qianjiao raised her head. Finally, someone gritted their teeth and did as they were told. However, those who were truly determined to cripple their own cultivation were in the minority. Most of them were crippled by Sha Tongtian. Chosen one, I hope you can keep your promise. Having said that, Sha Tongtian also crippled his own cultivation. Among those present, his cultivation was the highest. Once it was destroyed, he would suffer the greatest loss. This guy could be considered a good man among the sea race. Unfortunately, they were now enemies. Ling Xiao could not be soft-hearted. Don't worry. You people of the sea race can leave now. Don't cause trouble. You know the consequences. Ling Xiao said indifferently. Although his tone was indifferent, it was indeed a threat. Chapter 1174. Of course we won't cause trouble. After all, no one wants to die. Sha Tongtian led the Sea Clan members who had their cultivations crippled and left the palace. Ling Xiao ordered Haim Miankeo to escort them with 1,000 cavalry. After all, the Sea Clan had offended too many people. Not to mention other places, just in Moda City, there were countless people who wanted them to die. If no one escorted them, These people who had lost their cultivations would definitely die. Kong he, why aren't you doing anything? Do you want me to help you? Kong, he was the only one who had not left the scene. He was from the Divine Phoenix Empire, not the Sea Clan. What? You want me to cripple my own cultivation too? Kong, he asked with his eyes wide open. I believe you're not deaf. Don't tell me you don't understand what I'm saying? Ling Xiao looked at Kong he indifferently. No, I won't do that. I definitely won't do that. Kong he shook his head desperately. Even if he was beaten to death, he wouldn't choose to cripple his own cultivation. That was too absurd. Kill him. Ling Xiao couldn't stand Kong he anymore. He gave this guy a chance to live, but he didn't cherish it. He deserved to die. Wait. Hearing that Ling Xiao wanted to kill him, Kong he was really scared. Although he hadn't seen Ling Xiao kill the Lightning Devil King, Jia Yun, Jia Lin, and the others, he had heard about it from others. This guy was a complete lunatic. If he didn't listen to him, he might really lose his life. What? I choose to cripple my own cultivation. There was no need to mention how aggrieved Kong he was when he said those words. He, the Peacock Phoenix son, had actually fallen to such a state. This was simply a great humiliation. He really couldn't accept it. However, he had no choice but to do so. After staring at Kong, he crippling his own cultivation. Only then did Ling Xiao nod his head in satisfaction. Scram, it's best that you remember today's lesson. I don't want you to do anything harmful to me after returning to Divine Phoenix Empire. Otherwise, you can just wait for my crazy revenge. I won't. I definitely won't. Kong, he fled the palace in a sorry state. How could he not know? He had to seek justice for such a humiliating matter, no matter what. Ling Xiao naturally knew about this as well. He had purposely let Kong he go. In any case, if Feng Yinshan wanted to stabilize his position as the emperor of the Divine Phoenix Empire, then the families that supported the Ice Phoenix clan had to be eliminated. The Peacock race was one of them. Wasn't Feng Yinshan unable to find a reason to deal with the Peacock race? Ling Xiao found one for him. At the same time, on the sea hundreds of miles away from Shanghai, Yin-Yang realm battle had ended. The Yin-Yang Demon King looked at the Moon Maiden weakly and said through gritted teeth, Moon Maiden, you're actually protecting that brat Ling Xiao. Do you know how many people you'll offend by doing this? Of course I know, but I love him. The Moon Maiden said calmly. Love him? If she loved him, she should have told him that the Oceanic tribe was not something he could provoke. Even I don't count for much in the Oceanic race. He's really stirred up big trouble. The Yin-Yang Demon King said coldly. Whether or not he could provoke him, he's already provoked him. So what? If you keep talking nonsense, I'm afraid you won't be able to leave here. The Moon Maiden said calmly, I know more about the mystic world than you do. One day, he'll be more dazzling than all of you. Those so-called big shots of the Oceanic tribe will pale in front of him. Stubborn woman, you won't say that when you regret it. From today onwards, Ling Xiao will become a wanted criminal of our Oceanic tribe. I don't believe you can protect him forever. Moreover, your strength is nothing in our Oceanic tribe. The Yin-Yang Demon King sneered and dragged his injured body into the deep sea. The Moon Maiden didn't give chase. In the stormy ocean, the Oceanic tribe had too much of an advantage. It wasn't easy to kill them. The Yin-Yang Demon King was driven away, Shanghai was occupied, and Sea Emperor Jiao Batian was killed. These three matters intertwined and led to the collapse of the true Demon Empire. In just over 10 days, this young empire had finally fallen apart and walked on the path of complete estrangement. The Northern Han Army and the Tianli Army successfully joined forces outside of Moda City. Under Ling Xiao's powerful deterrence, the Tianli and Northern Han chose to submit to Ling Xiao, becoming part of the Celestial Empire. There was nothing they could do about it. After all, whether it was the Moon Maiden or the previous dynasty's supreme Holy Emperor, they all supported Ling Xiao, the heaven's chosen child. Whoever dared to oppose would face the danger of being exterminated. In the following half a month, Ling Xiao used the government system in his memory in the Celestial Empire. He became the Celestial Emperor of the Celestial Empire, the representative of the empire. However, he didn't manage any specific affairs. The administrators were selected by the Senate and the civilian court. After receiving his approval, they could take up the position and be called Heavenly King. The first Heavenly King was naturally Wu Xiang. After all, he was the president of the Restoration Society and was Ling Xiao's good senior brother. Ling Xiao trusted him a lot. After the establishment of the government, the army was also reorganized. This was what Ling Xiao learned from the new memory in order to avoid the emergence of rebellion. Another crucial decision was the concept of national harmony. Ling Xiao proposed that whether it was humans, the sea race, or other races, as long as they were willing to coexist peacefully, they could live in the Celestial Empire. At first, the sea race didn't believe this, until something happened. A sea race was beaten up by a human. Ling Xiao actually personally came out to punish this human and announced it to the world. Since then, many sea race people joined the Celestial Empire and started a new life. In the blink of an eye, Ling Xiao had already stayed in the Heavenly Dragon continent for nearly a month. The Celestial Empire also welcomed its first new year. Ling Xiao officially entered the age of 17, perhaps because of the establishment of a new dynasty and the celebration of the whole nation. The Celestial Empire was particularly lively this year, especially in the divine capital. It was extraordinarily lively. The divine capital was the former magic capital. Now that it was the imperial capital of the Celestial Empire, it naturally had to change its name slightly. At this time in the divine capital, all the soldiers had changed into brand new battle armor. They all had the Celestial Empire's special symbol. The entire body was black and looked fierce and powerful. On the streets, the worries of the commoners were gone. Instead, they were relaxed and cheerful. At first, they were worried that this young Heavenly Emperor would do something that they couldn't accept. In fact, the policies that this Heavenly Emperor promulgated made them overjoyed. They were all policies that were beneficial to the commoners. Therefore, they were naturally very satisfied with this Heavenly Emperor. Now, our Celestial Empire will probably be stronger than the Divine Phoenix Empire if we continue to develop. This Heavenly Emperor may be young, but he's really amazing. His military and governance are both amazing. In the same tavern, the topic of discussion had long changed. Now, the most discussed topic was the Celestial Empire and their Heavenly Emperor Ling Xiao. Chapter 1175. That's right. At first, I was worried that the Sea Clan would make a comeback and attack the Celestial Empire, or even provoke the Divine Phoenix Empire to attack. But now it seems that the Heavenly Emperor has a lot of experts by his side. Whether it's the Sea Clan or the Divine Phoenix Empire, they don't dare to easily provoke our Celestial Empire. That's true. I'm not bragging. That year at the Martial Arts Festival, I personally witnessed the heroic bearing of our Heavenly Emperor. Those so-called geniuses of the Sea Clan are not even worth mentioning in front of him. I've already said that it's impossible for the Heavenly Emperor to ignore us. The end of the Sea Clan will soon come. Look, I'm not wrong. This True Devil Empire was destroyed by the Heavenly Emperor in less than a year's time. A martial artist excitedly described everything he saw at the Martial Arts Festival. Although his words were somewhat boastful, the people next to him listened very seriously, not for anything else, but because it was related to their Heavenly Emperor. This actually confirmed one thing, and that was that the current Ling Xiao, the Celestial Emperor of the Celestial Empire, had become a living legend on the Heavenly Dragon continent, a living myth. No matter where you go, you can hear people competing to spread his story. Including those storytellers and wandering martial artists, they also adapted Ling Xiao's deeds into stories and spread them everywhere. Less than a year ago, the Heavenly Emperor defeated all the heroes at the Martial Arts Festival and obtained the title of Heaven's chosen child. However, the True Devil Empire suddenly rose in revolt and destroyed the sacred dynasty that had been struggling at death's door for more than 100,000 years, forcing the Heaven's chosen child to flee to the Divine Phoenix continent. And now, the Heavenly Emperor, who had become more powerful and mature, returned to the heavenly dragon continent. With thousands of troops and capable helpers, he captured the magic city, destroyed the true devil empire, and established the celestial empire. This scene was incomparably shocking and exhilarating. From then on, the heavenly dragon continent no longer had the Northern Han Empire, the Tianli Empire, and the True Devil Empire. Instead, it was replaced by a unified and powerful celestial empire. Everyone was glad about this. After hearing this news, the human exiles rushed back to the heavenly dragon continent. In the outside world, they had always been treated as inferior people. Now that the celestial dynasty had risen, it was time for them to return. This was their home. The commoners celebrated the new year in a happy mood, while Ling Xiao and his subordinates stood on the tallest building in the divine capital and looked around. Ling Xiao, who had participated in defending and sieging the city many times, was very clear. In the profound world, if a city did not have a defensive spirit array, it would be very easy to capture it. Right now, he was thinking about how to modify Shendu's array formation and turn the entire city into an indestructible fortress. If that was the case, even an yin-yang realm expert wouldn't be able to do anything. Moreover, considering the situation in the holy city, he was prepared to set up some formations both inside and outside the city. The array formation in the city would be controlled by the heavenly king and him. No one else had the right to know or control it. Once the fairies' capital was done, the other cities could follow suit and slowly promote it. As for how to set up the formation and what kind of formation to set up, Ling Xiao was naturally not a problem. He had already given the blueprint to Zhuge Ming, so the actual operation would be left to Zhuge Ming. The construction work in the profound world was very fast. Because they were basically martial artists, even ordinary craftsmen were more than 10 times more efficient than ordinary people. Those who were slightly better could do the work of ordinary people for dozens of days in a day. Therefore, in just a short month, the entire divine capital was completely repaired. The new and expanded areas were also basically completed. Many of the buildings were used to set up spirit arrays. In particular, there was a tall tower in the imperial palace that almost reached the clouds. It was constantly absorbing energy from the sky and channeling it into the divine capital. This tower was almost directly copied from the Moonlight Pagoda in the Yuehua School. After being modified by Ling Xiao and the Moon Lady, it stood here. Its name was also changed to Sun Moon Pagoda. This was because it could now not only absorb energy from the moonlight, but it could also absorb energy from the red sun. The absorbed energy continued to spread along the earth veins of the divine capital and covered the entire divine capital. Ordinary people and even many officials in the imperial court did not know what this was for. At this moment, Ling Xiao was sitting cross-legged at the highest point in the Sun Moon Pagoda. He closed his eyes and entered a state where he could control the world. The space in the divine capital seemed to be under his control, as if it was his toy. The Sun Moon Pagoda and the other buildings in the divine capital formed a huge sun-moon universe devouring array. However, after the array was set up, it still needed to be activated. After all, this kind of array was too big, and it was difficult for ordinary people to activate it. This heavy responsibility naturally fell on Ling Xiao's shoulders. As the Heavenly Emperor, he was also the most proficient martial artist in the entire Celestial Empire when it came to controlling soul power. At this moment, if someone could see the soul, they would see a huge shadow in the sky of the divine capital. This shadow used both hands to gently protect the entire divine capital. This shadow was Ling Xiao's origin soul that had come out of its shell. Activate! As the origin soul uttered a word, the entire sky of the divine capital suddenly became a scene where the sun and moon shone together. Although this strange and sacred scene only lasted for a moment, it caused all the people in the divine capital to kneel on the ground and kowtow to the huge heavenly emperor's image in the sky. Since then, they trusted and worshipped Ling Xiao even more. They even thought that Ling Xiao was a god himself, a god who saved mankind. Many warriors, however, felt something else. The heaven and earth's origin Qi flowed out of the ground and poured into their bodies. The entire divine capital seemed to have become a huge cultivation holy land. Needless to say, this must be the work of their heavenly emperor, Ling Shao. At this moment, even those who were familiar with Ling Shao could feel how mysterious and powerful Ling Shao was. Even the Moon Maiden could not do something like this. But Ling Shao had done it. It was really amazing. After another month, a similar array appeared in Langton City, which was near the divine capital. Although it was smaller than the one in the divine capital, it was just as shocking. After that, the various city lords and commanders returned to their respective stations with the blueprints they obtained from the divine capital and began the same modifications. Although these newly built arrays might not be as good as the one in the divine capital, after using them, not only would the cities have powerful defenses, but they would also have better cultivation effects than ordinary cities. This was enough for them. In order to stabilize the country's fate, we must obtain the sacred dynasty's imperial jade seal. When everything was going according to plan and developing smoothly, one of the officials made a suggestion. Chapter 1176. Rumor has it that the reason why the sacred dynasty fell was because they lost the imperial ruler's seal around 30,000 years ago. Only when the imperial ruler's seal is combined with the 9 cauldrons can the country's fate be stabilized. Someone else said, in the imperial court, Wu Xiang memorized all of these suggestions. When he saw Ling Shao, he told them one by one, I've heard about the imperial ruler's seal. Without that thing, our celestial empire wouldn't be legitimate. Not to mention stabilizing the country's fate, even our rule would be suspected. In our mystic world, we place a lot of importance on inheritances. When Wu Xiang was reporting, the Moon Lady was also at the side. But where are we going to find something that was lost 30,000 years ago? Ling Shao couldn't help but frown. I've heard that the imperial ruler's seal appeared in the city of Sin before. Wu Xiang said, if that's the case, then I'll go there myself. After all, the city of Sin is in the divine Phoenix continent. It's not a foreign place. Ling Shao thought about it and said, it would be best if he could find it. If he couldn't, then going to the city of Sin would be a good idea. I'll go with you. The Moon Maiden said, sure, but don't do anything rash. Ling Shao said, no problem. After the discussion, Ling Shao handed the Celestial Empire to Wu Xiang. Then he left the divine capital with the Moon Maiden and went to the city of Sin in the divine Phoenix continent. The city of Sin was a completely independent city on the divine Phoenix continent. It was a land without a master. Rumor had it that the divine Phoenix Empire and the Black Crow Empire both originated from here. This place had a long history comparable to the sacred city. But now, the city of Sin had become a land without a master. There was no city lord here, because it was sandwiched between the Black Crow Empire, the Divine Phoenix Empire, and the Emerald Ripple Island of the 7 Martial Grandmaster Islands. It was a completely lawless place. Everyone wanted to take over this place, but no one dared to do anything rashly. After all, the Black Crow Empire, the Divine Phoenix Empire, and the Emerald Ripple Island were all empires. None of them were weaker than the other. It was precisely because of this that this place became the breeding ground for the underground forces. It also had the largest underground black market in the entire Heavenly Dragon continent, Divine Phoenix continent, and even the 7 Martial Grandmaster Island and 5 Immortal Island. The source of income here was the black market. You can buy things that you can't buy anywhere else here. This included martial souls, special organs, special materials, and many other strange things. The city of Sin was surrounded by water on 3 sides, and behind it was a towering mountain. It was a place that was easy to defend but hard to attack. Perhaps because of the developed shipping, the business here was very prosperous. Although the city of Sin didn't have anything like a city lord, it was rumored that there was a true controller here. No one knew exactly who it was, but all the warriors who came here to trade gave this person a resounding name, King of the Black Market. The city of Sin had escaped criminals from all over the world, as well as businessmen from all over the world. However, there were very few locals. Rumor had it that most of them were killed by foreign warriors. It was very dangerous here, because there was no law here and there was no justice. Everything was based on the most primitive law, the law of the jungle. Also, the strength of the warriors here was relatively high. There were almost no transcendents. Among the Heaven Realm warriors, most of them were above the Six Arts Heavenly Realm. Those below the Six Arts Heavenly Realm were basically looking for death. What was even more terrifying was that there were probably more Grotto Heaven Realm warriors here than there were in the Divine Phoenix Empire's Imperial City. As for Yin Yang Realm warriors, he hadn't heard of any, but there were probably some. Otherwise, the City of Sin wouldn't have been able to stand here for so long. Of course, the Yin Yang Realm warriors were the bosses behind the scenes. They wouldn't easily show themselves. At this moment, a large ship was approaching the City of Sin. There were many people on the ship. They were all here to trade or search for treasures. Ling Xiao stood on the deck. Looking at the hazy City of Sin in the distance, he was a little shocked. Although he had been on the Divine Phoenix continent for almost a year, he had spent most of his time in the Imperial City. He hadn't been anywhere else. Being able to come to the City of Sin this time could be considered a special experience. Standing beside him were two women. One of them was wearing a moonlight-colored gauze dress. She was extremely beautiful. Every movement she made exuded an elegant and noble aura. She was naturally the Moon Lady. Because Ling Xiao didn't want her to act rashly, she had completely concealed her aura. In the eyes of others, she was just an ordinary weak woman. As for the other person, she was wearing soft armor. She had delicate features and a pair of bright eyes that were constantly vigilant. She was Cold Plum. Originally, Ling Xiao had planned to come with the Moon Lady. However, Cold Plum had followed him. Ling Xiao didn't chase her away. Cold Plum was very loyal to him. He naturally didn't want to wrong this girl. Furthermore, it was good that Cold Plum had followed him. Cold Plum was stronger than Ling Xiao, but weaker than the Moon Lady. She could help Ling Xiao solve many problems without causing too much of a commotion like the Moon Lady. Actually, apart from the three of them, there was another person following Ling Xiao. That person was the Yuan Venerate who stayed in Ling Xiao's Mountain River Realm. The Yuan Venerate was Ling Xiao's strongest master. He was also the person who had taught him array formations and alchemy. Unfortunately, he didn't have a body. Originally, such a Yuan Venerate wouldn't be able to travel long distances. However, after Ling Xiao cultivated the primordial spirit remnant scroll, he unexpectedly discovered that he could place his spirit body in the Mountain River Realm without being assimilated. This discovery gave the Yuan Venerate an excellent opportunity to go out. Of course, the most important thing was that the City of Sin might have something that could allow a Yuan Venerate to reform his body. He couldn't possibly remain in this spirit state forever. Big Sister Moon Lady, there are many dangers in the City of Sin. When the time comes, please don't act rashly. Otherwise, you will provoke the big boss behind the scenes of the City of Sin. If that happens, we won't be able to find anything. Ling Xiao smiled as he spoke to the Moon Lady. Don't worry. As long as they don't act against you, I naturally won't act rashly. I also want to be a quiet beauty. The Moon Lady smiled mischievously. Master, the weakest martialist on this ship is a 7-star sky martialist. It seems like the rumors are true. The City of Sin really isn't a place that just anyone can enter. Without a certain level of strength, entering this place is akin to courting death. Cold Plum had been paying attention to the other people on the ship. This discovery surprised her. Yes, this is a mysterious and cruel city. As Ling Xiao spoke, the corners of his mouth actually curled up in an excited smile. His adventurous nature had already erupted. Soon, the ship docked at the harbor. Everyone disembarked and headed towards the City of Sin. The city gates of the City of Sin were obviously maintained all year round. Otherwise, a city as ancient as the Sacred City wouldn't have been preserved so well. Ling Xiao and the other two weren't in a hurry. Instead, they walked forward slowly while admiring the scenery nearby. Chapter 1177. It was different for the other ancient martial art practitioners. Their purpose was very clear, so the first thing they thought of when they arrived was to enter the city. What was interesting was that Ling Xiao realized that when these people entered the city, some could enter freely, while others were stopped by the ancient martial art practitioners guarding the gate and could only enter after paying a certain amount of spirit stones. Isn't the City of Sin supposed to be ownerless? Why are there still people collecting entrance fees? Ling Xiao asked the ancient martial art practitioner in front of him curiously. Don't ask. Just pay if you're asked. Don't cause trouble for yourself. The City of Sin is ownerless, but this is a place where the strong preys on the weak. If you're not as good as others, you have to pay them protection fees. The ancient martial art practitioner in front of him lowered his voice and said, Oh, I see. I understand. Since they spoke with their fists, then there was no need for him to pay this fee. When the people in front of them had entered the city, Ling Xiao and the other two followed. Stop! The four ancient martial art practitioners guarding the gate blocked their way. This attracted the ancient martial art practitioners who had just entered the city to look back. That guy is new, right? Why doesn't he know the rules? He must be new. Anyway, I've never seen him before. No wonder. He doesn't even know the people from the Black Python clan. Isn't he courting death? The ancient martial art practitioners who had already entered the city did not seem to be in a hurry. Each of them crossed their arms and watched the show. Every time a new ancient martial art practitioner came, there would be a lot of commotion. This time, there would probably be some fun to watch. Sizing up the four ancient martial art practitioners blocking the way, Ling Xiao realized that the cultivation of these four people had reached the 8 desolate heaven early stage. This kind of cultivation was definitely very strong even in the divine Phoenix continent, let alone in the heavenly dragon continent. The four people's attire did not fit in with the official city guards. They looked more like thugs from some gang. They were dressed in tight clothes with a black python embroidered on it. They looked quite impressive. The four of them had arrogant and proud expressions on their faces. It seemed that their background was definitely not ordinary. What's the matter? Do the four of you have something to say? Ling Xiao asked with a smile. Little brat, you're new here, so we don't blame you. After all, those who don't know are innocent. But listen up. To enter the City of Sin, everyone has to pay 100,000 low-grade spirit stones, or 1,000 mid-grade spirit stones. Since there are 3 of you, you can either give me 300,000 low-grade spirit stones or 3,000 mid-grade spirit stones. Take your pick. The one who spoke was a man with triangular eyes. His eyes were blood red, and he looked like a snake. His words were obviously threatening. Although he didn't say what the result would be, everyone could tell what the result would be if they didn't do as he said. You must be mistaken. The City of Sin is an ownerless place, and anyone can come and go as they please. What right do you have to collect spiritual stones here? Ling Xiao asked with a smile. Because we are stronger than you. Isn't that enough? Cut the crap and hand over the spirit stones, quickly. Otherwise, get lost. This is not a place for you to act arrogantly and make a scene. The triangular-eyed man roared impatiently. Oh, I understand. If I am stronger than you, then I don't have to pay the spirit stones, right? Ling Xiao slapped his forehead and asked. Hee, little brat, you are quite smart. Since you understand, then hurry up and save everyone the trouble. You cannot be stronger than us. Even if you are stronger than us, don't forget that we are from the Black Python clan. You can't afford to offend us. Triangle Eyes snickered. Black Python clan? Ling Xiao had never heard of such a clan. Have you heard of the king of the black market in the City of Sin? That is our boss. Triangle Eyes said proudly. TSK, you sure know how to scare people. The king of the black market. Impressive, impressive. Unfortunately, I don't want to pay. I have spirit stones on me, but I don't want to pay. What do you think I should do? Ling Xiao asked with a smile. If you don't pay, I will kill you. Triangle Eyes revealed his ferocious look. As a member of the Black Python clan, they had been collecting entrance fees here for many years. There had been some arrogant people who refused to pay. However, although those people were arrogant, they were no match for them. They were easily dealt with. They didn't even need to use their clan's power. The three people in front of them didn't look very old. Two of them were around 16 or 17 years old. The other girl was slightly older, but she didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken. How dare they be so arrogant? Kill us? Ling Xiao's face suddenly turned cold. Originally, the fees only made him feel disgusted. He didn't want to kill them. But now, these four people wanted to take their lives. This made him a little unhappy. That's right. You don't even have 300,000 low-grade spirit stones, and you still want to enter the city? Go as far away as you can. If you don't, then you will die. We have at least 9,000 innocent souls under our hands. Do as you see fit. Triangle Eyes stared coldly at Ling Xiao. His cold aura was completely released. I don't want to pay, and I don't want to leave. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and walked forward. You are asking for death. The four people's faces darkened. No one had ever dared to disrespect them. Even many arrogant powerhouses didn't dare to make a sound after hearing that they were from the Black Python clan. This young man wanted to force his way in? The newcomer is finished. Oomph, he deserves it. I don't know where this kid came from. He doesn't know anything and dares to compete with the Black Python clan. He is simply asking for death. Let's guess, how will he die? He will be poisoned. He will definitely be cut into pieces and fed to the beasts. The Black Python clan raises giant pythons. They need to eat more human flesh. Ha ha ha, no matter how he dies, it will be very interesting. Let's watch and see. The warriors in the city smiled as they watched the argument. They had no intention of stopping it. After all, those who dared to come to the City of Sin were either extremely powerful cultivators or bullies. None of them were good people. Buzz! Ling Xiao's aura suddenly skyrocketed and climbed to the early stage of the 8 Desolation Heaven. Of course, this wasn't his true cultivation. However, it was more than enough to deal with the 4 people in front of him. Oh, no wonder this young man is so arrogant. He is also an 8 Desolation Heaven warrior. He is so powerful to have such a cultivation at such a young age. So what if he is powerful? He is too arrogant. I am afraid he is going to die today. It will be a pity if he dies. That is why it is best not to be arrogant when you come to a strange place. Otherwise, you will die without knowing how you died. The warriors in the city were shocked by Ling Xiao's sudden burst of strength. However, they didn't have any opinions about Ling Xiao's fate of being killed. Even if you were an 8 Desolation Heaven genius, you would have no chance of winning against 4 warriors of the same level. The 4 guards of the Black Python clan were also a little surprised. They pounced on Ling Xiao at the same time. Chapter 1178. Die. A dazzling light flashed past, for figures fell to the ground almost at the same time. In the blink of an eye, the 4 living warriors became 4 cold corpses. Ling Xiao's body didn't even have a drop of blood on it. His clothes were as white as snow, and his black hair fluttered in the wind. He gave off the feeling of a swordsman. Let's go. Ling Xiao didn't even look at the 4 dead warriors. He just greeted them and stepped into the city gate with Cold Plum and the Moon Maiden. The cultivators inside the city gate naturally opened up a path for them. Everyone was a little frightened in their hearts. Young man, you're in trouble. You're in big trouble. An old man at the peak of the 9th heavenly layer sighed and said, Your strength is indeed very strong. However, by killing the 4 of them, you have offended the entire Black Python clan. Leave quickly, otherwise you really won't be able to leave. Thank you for your advice, Senior. But I haven't bought anything yet, so I don't want to leave. Ling Xiao smiled slightly and still insisted on walking forward. What an arrogant man! What a terrifying sword! Looking at his back, a warrior who used a sword sighed. Flexible sword is unpredictable. That young man has reached the second realm of a swordsman. Every move is aggressive and his style is changeable. He wins with changeable and fast moves. His body movement and attack speed are like a ghost and light smoke. That old man sighed and said, I've only heard of one young man who can reach this realm. It's Mo Xiaoyu, the swift sword of Emerald Wave Island. Could it be him? Who knows? Mo Xiaoyu is very famous, but he wears a mask every time he appears. Others don't know what he looks like, but he has a good figure and a high realm of a swordsman. It should be him. Someone nearby said, If it's really Mo Xiaoyu, the Black Python clan can't do anything to him. Okay, let's not care about those trivial matters. Let's go into the city first. We just need to avoid those 3 people. It has nothing to do with us, anyway. Everyone nodded. He really couldn't meddle in such trivial matters. After all, in a place like the City of Sin, experts from all walks of life were as common as clouds. Even if that youth wasn't Jade Ripple Island's Mo Xiaoyu, he could still be a young genius from the Black Crow Empire or someone from the Divine Phoenix Empire. This was the intersection of the 3 major powers. It was possible for anyone to come. Mo Xiaoyu was very famous. His position on Jade Ripple Island was the same as the Divine Phoenix Empire's 10 great Phoenix Sons, belonging to the top 6 young experts. The martial artists of Jade Wave Island all used swords, so they were called the 6 young masters of the sword. As for this Mo Xiaoyu, he was the 3rd ranked lifestealer. Above him were Emerald Wave Sword Mo Tsong and Rose Sword Situ Hongyan. However, in terms of fame, Mo Xiaoyu was still the most famous. Mo Xiaoyu was arrogant, aloof, and domineering. He took people's lives as soon as he made a move. In addition, he often wore a ferocious mask when he traveled the Jianghu, so he left a very deep impression. Moreover, he was one of the young island masters of Jade Wave Island, with a revered position. When normal people saw him, they would avoid him. If they provoked him to draw his sword, then there would be no possibility of making peace. There would only be one result, and that was to kill Mo Xiaoyu or be killed. Currently, Mo Xiaoyu was not dead, which meant that those people who made him draw his sword were already dead. It was rumored that Mo Xiaoyu's cultivation had already reached the embryonic stage of the half-step Grotto Heaven Realm. Like Heaven Vein martial artists, the half-step Grotto Heaven Realm was also divided into embryonic stage, growth stage, mature stage, complete stage, and breakthrough stage, a total of 5 stages. This process was the process of transforming the Heaven Vein into the Grotto Heaven domain. It required continuous accumulation of power and continuous comprehension. Although it was only a transitional stage between the Grotto Heaven Realm and Heaven Realm, its importance was self-evident. Moreover, according to common sense, a half-step Grotto Heaven Realm martial artist was definitely stronger than martial artists below the 10 Directions Heaven Realm. Even if there were exceptions, they were as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. Mo Xiaoyu was only 20 years old, younger than the peacock phoenix Sun Konghe, but his cultivation was comparable to Konghe. It was normal for this person to be ranked 3rd in Jade Ripple Island. After all, Konghe was only ranked 10th among the 10 great phoenix sons of the Divine Phoenix Empire. Mo Xiaoyu could be said to be invincible in the Heaven Realm. Even a half-step Grotto Heaven Realm martial artist would not dare to make an enemy out of him. This person's swordsman realm was too strong, and his methods were ruthless and merciless. Making an enemy out of such a martial artist was basically a risk of death. It was fine if he did not draw his sword, but when his sword was drawn, there would be blood. This was the style of the Reaper sword Mo Xiaoyu. On the long street, many people came and went in a hurry, but there were also martial artists who stopped to watch. Most of these people were newcomers to the City of Sin, and felt that everything in the city of Sin was new to them. Moreover, there were many of these people. The busiest street in the city of Sin was the Black Street. The goods on the Black Street did not have a price tag. The price of the goods depended on the strength of the buyer and seller. This place also adhered to the law of the jungle, and it was maintained even more firmly. On the street, a figure appeared. A black robe, a sinister mask, and a black longsword. It created a fierce and terrifying image. The originally noisy street suddenly became quiet. Almost everyone stared at this person, and some people even swallowed nervously. Emo Xiaoyu, the Reaper's sword. What a strong, murderous aura. What a terrifying sword intent. Perhaps it was because the mask was too eye-catching, so people recognized this person's identity at a glance. Normally, martial artists would put their weapons in their storage rings. This way, it would be convenient to carry them around and would not affect their battle. However, this Emo Xiaoyu had a habit. That long sword that looked like a black piece of metal was always tied to his waist. That's right, it was a flexible sword. Emo Xiaoyu's swordsman realm had already reached the level of the flexible sword. The flexible sword in his hand was unpredictable and extremely ruthless. Often, when he made a move, his opponent would be killed on the spot before they could figure out his moves. There was a thick smell of blood on the black sword that didn't look very impressive. It was said that Emo Xiaoyu never washed his treasured sword. He believed that staining his sword with the blood of his enemies was a kind of glory. He walked casually, but his sharpness was exposed. Everyone could feel that cold and aggressive sword intent. This person seemed to have turned into a sharp, treasured sword. It was truly terrifying. Many people lowered their heads, not daring to look at Emo Xiaoyu. They were afraid that they would offend this killing god and die under his sword. Of course, there were experts in the Black Street, but there were not many who were stronger than Emo Xiaoyu. Emo Xiaoyu was very satisfied with these people's reactions. However, his footsteps suddenly stopped. This was because even though everyone had opened up a path for him, there were actually 3 people who were walking towards him, face to face. Not only did they not look at him, but they were also talking and laughing, as if they did not care about his murderous aura at all. Chapter 1179. Behind Emo Xiaoyu's ferocious mask, there was a hint of anger. His gaze fell on a young girl among the 3. She was younger than him, but colder than him. Her strong, murderous aura was not inferior to his at all. The girl should be using a short sword. However, a short sword was also a sword, and it had the same effect as a long sword. How dare you not move aside when you see our senior brother Emo? How dare you snatch the path from him? At this moment, a few warriors rushed out from behind Emo Xiaoyu and scolded Ling Xiao and the other 2. Emo Xiaoyu did not stop them. He just stood there with his arms crossed, and a proud smile appeared on his face. It was as if he was watching a show. Cold Plum, how many waves of people have we met today? Ling Xiao asked indifferently. The 4th wave. Cold Plum answered. What about the other 3 waves? Ling Xiao asked again. They're all dead. Cold Plum's cold voice contained a strong threat. The city of Sin was indeed the city of sin. From the moment they entered the city, the 3 of them did not have much peace. Along the way, 3 waves of people finally attacked them. The result was naturally their heads separated from their bodies. In this place, there was no reasoning. If you tried to reason with others, they would use their weapons. Therefore, the only way was to use the coldest and most ruthless method to crush the other party. How's the strength of the 4th wave? Ling Xiao asked again. Except for that Emo Xiaoyu, they're all trash. Cold Plum answered that Emo Xiaoyu is already a half-step Grotto Heaven realm warrior. He has comprehended a small amount of Grotto Heaven power. He's indeed very strong. Not bad. The deadly sword Emo Xiaoyu of Emerald Ripple Island is quite a character. Ling Xiao nodded with a smile. Emo Xiaoyu's strength was needless to say. Not only his cultivation, but even his realm as a swordsman had entered the stage of the flexible, sword impermanence. This guy, without releasing his martial soul, had the strength of a half-step Grotto Heaven realm warrior. If he used his martial soul, he might even be able to kill a half-step Grotto Heaven martial artist. Master is right. He is indeed a character, but compared to Master, he is nothing. Cold Plum liked to speak the truth and was not afraid of offending people. Ling Xiao smiled and did not deny it. He could even kill Kong He. So Mo Xiaoyu was indeed nothing in front of him. Impudent, you're getting more and more ignorant. It's one thing to call us trash, but you actually dare to insult our senior brother Mo. Among the 4 people blocking Ling Xiao's path, there was a young girl. Her cultivation was not high, but her temper was not small. Moreover, she was very arrogant. She actually pointed at Ling Xiao's nose and said, "Our senior brother Mo is one of the top 3 deadly swords on Emerald Wave Island. He reached the half-step Grotto Heaven realm at the age of 20. Who do you think you are? How dare you compare yourself with our senior brother Mo?" The young girl was probably secretly in love with Mo Xiaoyu. When she heard the man she secretly loved being looked down upon, she became so agitated. Ling Xiao was too lazy to argue with this kind of woman. He smiled and said, "Deadly swords? What a resounding title. Unfortunately, I am ignorant and have never heard of it. In this world, those who dare to use swords as their titles are either very confident or self-righteous egomaniacs. Cultivators who used swords were the most common in the mystic world. Even Ling Xiao did not dare to use swords to give himself a title. This Mo Xiaoyu was really arrogant. He really did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. Pucci! Suddenly, the sound of a sword whistling rang out. The ground where Ling Xiao was standing suddenly split open. The cracked stone slab seemed to have been cut open by something. There was even a hint of blood red in the flat surface. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. This Mo Xiaoyu wanted to show them who was the boss. However, Mo Xiaoyu probably did not know that this sword was fortunately aimed at the ground. If it was aimed at Ling Xiao, then at this moment Mo Xiaoyu would have already become a cold corpse. Ling Xiao raised his head and glanced at Mo Xiaoyu. Mo Xiaoyu was still standing there with his arms crossed. The black sword at his waist was only trembling slightly. If one did not look carefully, it was as if it had never made a move. Mo Xiaoyu looked at him at the same time and said faintly, "Disaster comes from the mouth. Don't make trouble for yourself. Some words can't be said to just anyone." These words were said with a tone full of pride and disdain. It fully reflected Mo Xiaoyu's arrogance and insufferably arrogant attitude. What a fast sword! I didn't even see him make a move. How did he do it just now? In the crowd, a cultivator shouted in surprise. I didn't see it either. But since this deadly sword has already been drawn, why is there no blood on it? There were also people who had doubts. They did not know that Mo Xiaoyu was a little afraid of Cold Plum, so there was no blood. However, the bystanders did not know. Many infatuated young girls even thought that Mo Xiaoyu was giving face to the new cultivator. It was Mo Xiaoyu's magnanimity. The girl from Jade Ripple Island was almost fluttering, thinking of the embarrassing things she had done with Mo Xiaoyu in bed. She felt a burst of happiness for no reason. Being conquered by such a man in bed was also a kind of blessing. Of course, in Ling Xiao's eyes, this kind of woman was purely cheap. But it had nothing to do with him, so he was too lazy to say anything. Cold Plum's broken sword had already been drawn out of its sheath. It could turn into a fierce sword shadow and rush out at any time. Cold Plum put the sword back. Ling Xiao gently patted Cold Plum's hand and said with a smile, Mo Xiaoyu's realm as a swordsman was higher than his, so Ling Xiao could be considered to be a hunter. He could not let Cold Plum kill such a good sparring partner. Yes, master. Cold Plum was very obedient, but Ling Xiao could still feel the cold, murderous intent from her hand. Listen to me. We did not come to the city of sin to find people to fight. We came to buy things. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, as if nothing had happened. However, on his blacklist, Mo Xiaoyu had become a pitiful sparring partner. It was just that he did not want to make a move yet. There were so many good things on this black street waiting for him to buy. What if he destroyed someone's stall? What if he destroyed something he desperately needed? That would not be worth it. Let's see who's the real trash. Now you know how powerful our senior brother Mo is. Hurry up and get out of the way. The young girl from Jade Ripple Island was even more proud. She snorted coldly and shouted arrogantly. It was as if the sword just now was not stabbed by Mo Xiaoyu but by her. Cold Plum's mood had already calmed down. She was indifferent to other people's insults, but if anyone dared to attack Ling Xiao, she would kill them at all costs. If it wasn't for Ling Xiao stopping her, Mo Xiaoyu would already be dead. As for the strongest cultivators of the Sun Realm, they had no interest in these childlike warriors. Chapter 1180. The Moon Maiden didn't even listen to what Mo Xiaoyu and the others were saying. Her mind was completely focused on the goods on the Black Street. Even if an ant stood at the foot of an elephant and taunted it, the elephant might not even hear it. Even if it did hear it, it probably wouldn't take it seriously. Ling Xiao felt that this was very interesting. Coming out this time was the right choice. If he always stayed in one place, he wouldn't get to see such fun things. Sure enough, martial artists still had to travel around. Otherwise, they would gradually become ignorant and inexperienced. All right, let's go. Compared to the trash from Jade Ripple Island, Mo Xiaoyu was more observant. Although he couldn't see through Ling Xiao and the Moon Maiden's cultivation, he felt that Cold Plum wasn't easy to deal with. Everyone said that when Mo Xiaoyu drew his sword, he would definitely draw blood. However, they didn't know that he wouldn't draw his sword easily, because his observational skills weren't bad. Senior brother, aren't you going to teach these three trash a lesson? The young girl pouted. Don't forget that we came to the city of Sin for business. Let's go. Before Mo Xiaoyu left, his gaze swept across Ling Xiao's face with disdain and mockery. Then his voice sounded in Ling Xiao's ears. Trash that relies on a woman to protect you. I'll let you go this time. Next time you see me, you better avoid me. Ling Xiao smiled and looked at Mo Xiaoyu, who was already far away. He muttered to himself, interesting. Soon, you'll know that I don't need anyone to protect me when I'm facing you. After Mo Xiaoyu left, the Jade Ripple Island disciples also left. Suddenly, a few people's discussion came from the side, which immediately attracted Ling Xiao's attention. That deadly sword, Mo Xiaoyu said he had business to do. He probably came for that soft sword. Definitely, Mo Xiaoyu has already reached the level of deadly sword. However, his soft sword obviously can't keep up, so he has to change to a new one. It seemed that there were quite a lot of people in the city of Sin who were well informed. Are you talking about that divine artifact, the Umbra Sword? Yes, that's the thing. After all, Mo Xiaoyu is already a half-step Grotto Heaven Realm cultivator. If he goes any further, he will reach the Grotto Heaven Realm. If he still uses an immortal-grade artifact, it will be somewhat inappropriate. Hearing this, many people's eyes lit up. Whether it was the Heavenly Dragon Continent or the Divine Phoenix Continent, a divine-grade artifact was a weapon that many martial artists yearned for even in their dreams. Grotto Heaven Realm martial artists could use it, and even Yin-Yang Realm martial artists could use it. If Mo Xiaoyu came to the City of Sin for the Shadow Sword, then things would be interesting. I'm afraid that even Grotto Heaven Realm cultivators would want to get involved. Will Mo Xiaoyu be able to snatch it? Don't forget that Mo Xiaoyu is the young island master of Jade Wave Island. Other than people from the Black Crow Empire and Divine Phoenix Empire, who would dare to fight with him. That might not be the case. The City of Sin is not Emerald Ripple Island. The most interesting thing is that anything can happen here. Emerald Ripple Island is very powerful, but that doesn't mean that others won't dare to provoke them. That's true. The disciples of Emerald Ripple Island are too arrogant. there will definitely be people willing to suppress their arrogance. The person who said this intentionally or unintentionally glanced at Ling Xiao and the other two. Although he didn't know why Mo Xiaoyu didn't kill the three of them, this person had a guess. Perhaps Mo Xiaoyu was afraid of the three of them. Whether it was fear in terms of strength or influence, it would make the City of Sin's auction very interesting. Ling Xiao smiled slightly. It was really like someone giving him a pillow just as he was about to sleep. Now that he had broken through the flexible swords impermanence realm, he needed a suitable weapon. He didn't expect to find one in the City of Sin. A divine artifact was the strongest weapon among artifacts. With this Umbra Shadow Sword, he wouldn't have to worry about reaching the Grotto Heaven realm. Ling Xiao had many weapons, but most of them were immortal artifacts. Only the Purple Lightning Sword could temporarily display the power of a divine artifact. However, it wasn't a long-term solution. If he wanted to fully display his strength, this Umbra Shadow Sword was a must. It's not just the Umbra Shadow Sword. I heard that there's also a pair of Demon Fiend Mother-Child swords. One is long, the other is short. It's most suitable for assassins. Its quality is also at the level of a divine artifact. Then, will Mo Xiaoyu bid for the Demon Fiend Mother-Child swords and give them to his senior sister? He's rich and overbearing. That's possible. Hearing this, Ling Xiao couldn't help but look at Cold Plum and say, "You're now a 10th Grotto Heaven realm expert. Although you can explode with such power normally, you can't lack divine artifacts. Why don't I help you get the Demon Fiend Mother-Child swords?" "Thank you, Master." Cold Plum didn't stand on ceremony. She belonged to Ling Xiao. If Ling Xiao wanted to buy something for her, she was willing to accept it. Not to mention, better weapons would allow her to display more strength and better protect Ling Xiao. And since we haven't found any clues about the Imperial Jade Seal yet, why don't we go take a look at the Umbra Shadow Sword and the Demon Fiend Mother-Child swords first? Ling Xiao smiled and walked towards the crowd. He cupped his hands towards the well-informed cultivator and said, "Brother, I wonder where the Umbra Shadow Sword and the Demon Fiend Mother-Child swords are now? I hope you can tell me. This is a small gift." In fact, Ling Xiao wasn't a domineering person. He was very polite to people who didn't provoke him. However, this person seemed to think that Ling Xiao was a pushover because he didn't say anything in front of Ling Xiao. His attitude wasn't very friendly. "Trash, like you thinks you can know the whereabouts of those two good swords. In your dreams. Is that so?" Ling Xiao smiled faintly, and a thick, murderous aura surged towards that person. That person trembled and almost knelt on the ground in front of Ling Xiao. He said loudly, "They are at the Black Wind Pavilion. That is the biggest auction house in the City of Sin." As that person spoke, his heart was still in shock. Ling Xiao didn't reveal his cultivation level before and didn't release any aura. Therefore, he didn't feel how scary Ling Xiao was. However, when Ling Xiao's murderous aura rushed towards him, he felt as if someone was holding a sword against his heart. It was too scary. This person's strength is probably not lower than Mo Xiaoyu. No wonder Mo Xiaoyu didn't touch him. His heart was filled with fear, and his answer was very straightforward. "Don't be afraid. As long as you lead the way, I won't do anything to you. Also, take these 1,000 low-grade spirit stones." Ling Xiao retracted his murderous aura and smiled warmly. However, his terrifying image had long been branded in the man's body. How could he dare to disobey? He could only nod in fear and trepidation. "I can't accept the spirit stones, but I know where the Raven Wind Pavilion is. Young master, please follow me. Just take it. There's nothing to be embarrassed about." Ling Xiao casually inserted the spirit stones into the other party's storage ring, then patted the other party's shoulder and said in a friendly manner, "What a smiling tiger. If I said the wrong thing, I would have lost my life." That person was extremely frightened. Chapter 1181. The person leading the way was walking in front, but he was feeling very lucky. Luckily, he didn't fight back, or else he would have been finished. Ling Xiao, the Moon Maiden, and Cold Plum followed behind him, heading towards the Black Wind Pavilion. The auction in the city of Sin would definitely be very interesting. Who knew how many strange treasures there would be? After they left the Black Street, there was a lot of discussion on the street. Who was that young man? He dared to mock Mo Xiaoyu and didn't get killed. He's the first one. Yes, the killing intent he released just now made people tremble. It's too scary. He's not any weaker than Mo Xiaoyu. He shouldn't be as strong as Mo Xiaoyu, but his strength isn't bad either. Since they also have their eyes on the Shadow Sword and the Devil Spawn Sword, the auction in the Black Wind Pavilion will probably be very interesting. Who wants to go with me? Ha ha ha, of course I want to go. The crowd walked along the Black Street in twos and threes, talking and laughing. Actually, the Black Wind Pavilion was at the end of the Black Street. It was a tall black building and could be considered the tallest landmark in the city of Sin. It looked very majestic. In the Black Wind Pavilion, not only would the Shadow Sword and the Devil Spawn Sword be auctioned, there would also be other treasures that would appear. The Sacred Dynasty's Imperial Jade Seal might also appear today. I heard it from an insider. It's hard to say. After all, many treasures have appeared in the City of Sin. In the Sky Dragon Continent and Divine Phoenix Continent, it's definitely a treasure trove. Of course, after the heroes of Jianghu get their treasures, they all like to come to the City of Sin to auction them. Because there's no need to pay taxes here, and the prices are usually higher than other places. There were many people here, so the treasures were naturally many and varied. When does the auction start? Ling Xiao asked the person leading the way. Young master, there's no need to rush. There's still 2 hours before the auction starts. Why don't you walk around the Black Street? Don't think that the Black Street is full of stalls and shops. The things here might not be worse than the ones in the Black Wind Pavilion. The person leading the way answered all of Ling Xiao's questions. He didn't dare to beat around the bush or talk nonsense. Oh, I thought that martial artists would bring their treasures to the Black Wind Pavilion to auction. So that's not the case. Ling Xiao asked curiously. Young master, you might not know this, but the price of the Black Wind Pavilion's auction is indeed very high. However, the commission is also very high. At the very least, you have to pay 20% of the price, the person leading the way explained. Moreover, there are some things that a martial artist doesn't know whether they are treasures or not after obtaining them. If you want to take them to the Black Wind House for appraisal, you'll have to pay a considerable appraisal fee. If the item is really valuable, then it's fine. If it isn't, then you will suffer a huge loss. Therefore, after obtaining such an item, martial artists would basically mark a price casually and set up a stall to sell it. Of course, most of these people were relatively stronger, so no one dared to snatch it. There were also some people who were sheltered by the Black Python clan and had their own shops in the Black Street. Some daily necessities and ordinary items could be bought in those shops. The Black Wind Pavilion is very strict when it comes to choosing their auction items. Every day, they auction no more than 20 items. Furthermore, every item is a rare item that cultivators are willing to pay a high price for. I see. Ling Xiao now had a better understanding of the City of Sin. For all he knew, he might actually be able to obtain the Imperial Jade Seal in the City of Sin. However, he estimated that he would have to wait a little longer. After listening to the person leading the way, Ling Xiao released his soul power and began to search the stalls on both sides of the Black Street for good items. Although most of the items on the stalls were trash and not worth much, it was just as the person leading the way had said. What if he picked up some scraps? Ling Xiao had a strong soul power. When it came to picking up scraps, of course, he wouldn't give up. After walking for about a few hundred meters, the Black Wind House was right in front of him. Ling Xiao suddenly stopped and looked at one of the stalls. How much is this item? Ling Xiao squatted down and asked. 10,000 low-grade spirit stones. Fixed price. The stall owner looked at Ling Xiao and said lightly, "All right, deal." Ling Xiao didn't haggle. The item he had his eyes on was a very outstanding piece of ancient jade. It contained very pure energy. Although it wasn't some rare treasure, it was very good for cultivation. Its value was estimated to be around 2 million low-grade spirit stones. Unfortunately, the stall owner didn't know the value of the item, so he didn't recognize it. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, could clearly feel the energy contained within the ancient jade. "Young man, you sure are straightforward." The stall owner's strength wasn't bad. He should be a powerhouse half a step into the Grotto Heaven realm. If he dared to set up a stall here, he definitely wouldn't be able to do so without this strength. "Wait a minute, I'll pay 100,000 low-grade spirit stones for this item." Just as Ling Xiao was about to take the piece of ancient jade from the stall owner, he was stopped by someone. "Look, it's Mang Xiao from the Black Python clan." It really is Mang Xiao, the #1 genius of the Black Python clan. His status isn't any lower than the 6 young masters of the Sword of Jade Wave Island or the 10 great Phoenix sons of the Divine Phoenix Empire. Exclamations rose and fell one after another. Everyone turned to look behind Ling Xiao. There was a man standing there, a tall and sturdy man with an awe-inspiring aura. Although he looked so majestic, he was not old. He was only 19 years old. However, his cultivation was higher than Mo Xiaoyu. He had reached the half-step Grotto Heaven realm growth phase. Ling Xiao looked back at Mang Xiao and couldn't help but frown. The Black Python clan was indeed a ruthless clan. They had never been reasonable in their dealings. He didn't look like a human at all. Instead, he looked like a super giant python with his mouth wide open. He stared at him with sharp and fierce eyes. It seems that the Black Python clan isn't bragging. Mang Xiao can be considered a super genius in terms of aptitude. Ling Xiao thought to himself, "Sorry, I saw this piece of ancient jade first, and I've already negotiated the price." Ling Xiao looked at the guy who was almost 3 heads taller than him and said lightly, "Is that guy crazy?" Yeah, he didn't move aside when he saw Mang Xiao. He even dared to speak like that. Is he looking for death? Maybe he really is crazy. He didn't give way to Mo Xiaoyu before, and now he's fighting with Mang Xiao. He's looking for death. Exclamations of surprise and schadenfreude could be heard from the crowd. They all felt that Ling Xiao was simply looking for trouble. "You saw it first? Ha ha ha, in the city of sin. I, Mang Xiao, will get whatever I want." Mang Xiao laughed and said, "Kid, if you know what's good for you, you'd better get out of here before I attack you." Although he didn't attack, he suddenly opened his mouth and spat out a cloud of mist. The mist had a sinister purple hue, which made people feel very uncomfortable. Ling Xiao's body was quickly covered by the purple mist. It's the Black Python clan's purple mist poison. This kid is dead meat. A few mocking and gloating voices came from the crowd. However, the next moment, they were all dumbfounded. Chapter 1182. As the purple poison miasma enveloped Ling Xiao's body, the crowd couldn't help but laugh in schadenfreude. There weren't many martial artists in the city of Sin who were sympathetic. This was truly a place of evil. But in the next moment, their laughter came to an abrupt halt. Ling Xiao hadn't even moved, but the terrifying purple poison miasma had completely vanished, as if something had forcefully sucked it away. A martial artist with better eyesight could vaguely see that something had happened to Ling Xiao's left eye, but it had happened so quickly that not even they could see it clearly. The purple poison miasma has been dispelled? And so easily? The crowd cried out in alarm. They were very familiar with Mang Xiao's purple poison miasma. Countless martial artists had died tragically to this poison miasma. Even if they didn't die, they would be at Mang Xiao's mercy after being poisoned. It was simply impossible to dispel it so easily. No wonder this brat dared to provoke Mang Xiao. It seems like he does have some skill. Thinking back to Ling Xiao's encounter with Mo Xiaoyu and his current calmness in the face of Mang Xiao, many people had such thoughts. Good brat, No wonder you didn't give me Mang Shao face. But in the city of sin, I advise you to be more cautious. What's your name? Mang Shao smirked as he looked at Ling Shao. Ling Xiao's strength had truly surprised him, but it wasn't enough to make him fearful. Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's expression was as calm as ever, without the slightest hint of excitement. Perhaps it was because he had met so many experts that he had become more mature. But the moment he heard this name, Mang Xiao's triangular eyes suddenly narrowed and his brow furrowed. Ling Xiao. Could it be him? Mang Xiao had never seen Ling Xiao in person, but he was far too familiar with this name. This person had chased an enemy for 1,000 li, killed Timur Mutu, captured Tomohiko Kuma alive, wreaked havoc in the divine Phoenix capital, killed the Righteous Alliance's young lord, and destroyed the Lightning Demon King. What was even more frightening was that there was news recently that this kid had returned to the Sky Dragon continent and wiped out the true Demon Empire in one fell swoop. He had rebuilt the human empire and named it the Celestial Empire. He had even become a Celestial Emperor. This kind of information was only known to the upper echelons of the major forces. Most of the ordinary people did not know much about Ling Xiao. They might not even have heard of this name. The name Ling Xiao seems to ring a bell, but he shouldn't be some great figure. He's not one of the divine Phoenix Empire's 10 great Phoenix sons, nor is he one of Jade Ripple Island's 6 young masters of the sword, nor is he one of the Black Crow Empire's 7 malignant stars, nor is he related to the Black Python clan. In the crowd, many people revealed puzzled expressions. These 23 people were the most outstanding young warriors of the 3 major forces. However, Ling Xiao was definitely not one of them. Even among the cultivators who were second only to these 23 people, he didn't seem to have his name. However, looking at Mang Xiao's expression, everyone understood that Ling Xiao might really be extraordinary. Mang Xiao definitely knew about Ling Xiao. So it's Brother Ling's sorry for the disrespect. Since that's the case, take this as my gift to Brother Ling, Mang Xiao smiled. When he was at home, he had heard from his elders that it was best not to provoke Ling Xiao if he met him. Although he was not convinced, he still chose to listen to his elders today. Thank you. Ling Xiao nodded calmly. After all, this was the Black Python clan's territory. It would be best if there was no conflict. Since the other party was willing to give up, then there was no problem. No way. Mang Xiao is actually afraid. Looks like this kid is really extraordinary. He can actually make Mang Xiao choose to give up. The crowd started to discuss again. When Mang Xiao heard this, although he was annoyed, he could still hold it in. After all, he was considered the successor of the Black Python clan. How could he not have some self-control? However, although he could hold it in, the people who came with him could not. Ling Xiao turned back to trade with the stall owner. Just as he took the ancient jade in his hand, a dangerous aura suddenly attacked from behind. That feeling was like being sneak attacked by a snake. Ling Xiao's lips curled into a cold smile. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If people offend me, I will definitely offend them. He could give Mang Xiao face, but if someone insisted on dealing with him, then sorry. He did not turn around, but a ball of dazzling light suddenly condensed on his back. This light flashed and disappeared. What followed was a blood-curdling scream. Ah! The hands of the person who had ambushed Ling Xiao were completely burnt. They were charred black, and when the wind blew, they turned into ashes. Everyone looked over in surprise. They thought that everything would be fine, but they did not expect such a thing to happen. The onlookers were naturally very excited, but the Black Python clan's martial artists did not look so good. Brother, what's going on? What happened to your hand? Bastard, this bastard attacked me. The face of the cultivator, whose hands were completely destroyed, was deathly pale, large beads of sweat constantly dripping from his head. However, his eyes were filled with a fierce killing intent, as if he wanted to tear Ling Xiao into 1,000 pieces and cut him into 1,000 pieces. Ling Xiao put the ancient jade into his storage ring. then turned back to look at the pair of ferocious eyes. Suddenly he pointed his finger. The shadow all pierced through the air and directly pierced through the martial artist's throat. The martial artist's throat gurgled as if he wanted to say something, but no words came out. The ferocity in his eyes had already turned into terror. Never in his wildest dreams would he have imagined that Ling Xiao would dare to attack him in front of Mang Xiao in the City of Sin. Actually, Ling Xiao didn't want this to happen either. It was just that after being ambushed, he still had to be framed for plotting. He did not have such a good temper. I can't accept this. Even though it was hard for him to make a sound, for clear words still popped out from his muffled words. He really could not accept this. He thought that no one would dare to attack him in the City of Sin. He thought that no one would dare to kill him in front of Mang Xiao. However, he was wrong. He was ridiculously wrong. The price for this mistake was his life. Everyone on the street was shocked. Even those who were stronger than Ling Xiao were shocked by his brazen provocation. They might dare to attack the Black Python clan, but they definitely would not dare to attack in front of Mang Xiao and so many people in broad daylight. How was this killing a person? This was basically declaring war on the Black Python clan. The Black Python clan was incomparably powerful, and he had the support of the Black Crow Empire, Divine Phoenix Empire, and Jade Ripple Island's upper echelons. Making an enemy out of the Black Python clan meant making an enemy out of these three forces. This young man was really crazy. You have to pay the price for speaking carelessly. If I wanted to plot against someone, I would do it against a Grotto Heaven realm martial artist. Are you worthy? Ling Xiao glanced at the corpse on the ground indifferently and threw out a sentence. There was no need to explain anything. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that he was much stronger than that person. It was impossible for him to plot against him. Chapter 1183. If everyone was reasonable, Ling Xiao would naturally be innocent. However, the City of Sin was not a place to be reasonable. Ling Xiao had killed a member of the Black Python clan. If Mang Xiao did nothing, he would be too cowardly. Everyone looked at Mang Xiao, wanting to see how the number one genius of the Black Python clan would deal with this matter. Mang Xiao was very unhappy. He even had a murderous intent. Although he knew very well that his men had ambushed Ling Xiao and suffered losses. Ling Xiao had killed his men in front of so many people. This was clearly not giving him any face. This was clearly a slap to his face in front of everyone. This was intolerable. At this moment, he had already thrown the advice of the elders in his family aside. If he did not do something, he, Mang Xiao, would not be able to show his face in the future. Ling Xiao, do you know how angry I am right now? Even if my men were in the wrong, you did not give me any face. You did not give the Black Python clan any face. Isn't this a little inappropriate? Mang Xiao's entire body glowed with a purple light. His vigorous fighting spirit had already been ignited. This made everyone excited. He was finally going to make a move. Mang Xiao was a young warrior who did not lose to the 6 young masters of the sword. What kind of lesson would he teach this newcomer to the City of Sin? Face? Is face more important or your life more important? Ling Xiao smiled and said, "You're just losing face now. If you really want to make a move, then you'll lose your life." A threat that was completely undisguised. Mang Xiao's expression became more and more unpleasant. He did not know Ling Xiao's background at all. However, the other party was so calm as if he had already defeated him. This made him somewhat hesitant. Should he make a move or not? What would the consequences be if he made a move? He did not know. He was currently in a very bad mood. This brat is too awesome. From what he said, it seems like he can even kill Mang Xiao. That's right, that should be what he meant. I vaguely remember this name. Could he be the chosen child that was previously the talk of the Divine Phoenix Empire? When this person said this, the others immediately had an impression of him. However, most of the people here had only heard some rumors about the chosen one, Ling Xiao. They had no idea about Ling Xiao's strength and character. Will the chosen one of the heavenly dragon continent be a match for the young master of the Black Python clan? Everyone was looking forward to the next battle. Young master, why are you still wasting time with that stinking brat? Kill him. He actually dares to not give our Black Python clan face. That's right. Even if our people sneak attacked him, he should have obediently accepted his death. How dare he resist? Where is the law? In these people's eyes, the Black Python clan was the law of the City of Sin. Everything here was decided by the Black Python clan. Even if they wanted to kill someone, that person could only kneel and let them kill him. They couldn't even fight back. Otherwise, they would be considered traitors. If you can fight, then don't talk nonsense. I'm standing right here, waiting for you. Ling Xiao's face revealed a provocative smile, as if the martialists before him were just a bunch of trash with mouths. All talk and no action. The martialists from the Black Python clan were extremely furious. However, even if they were furious, they didn't dare to attack. Ling Xiao had easily killed their brother just now. His attack was so fast that they didn't even see it clearly. If they fought with such a person, they would also die. That was why they instigated Meng Xiao to attack. In this place, only Meng Xiao could fight with Ling Xiao. They could then fish in troubled waters and secretly stab Ling Xiao with a knife. Meng Xiao was now in a difficult position. He was really unwilling to fight with Ling Xiao because Ling Xiao's strength was really unfathomable. However, under such circumstances, he had no choice but to defend the dignity of the Black Python clan. What he needed now was a way out, a way to turn around and leave. Otherwise, it would be too embarrassing to leave just like that. However, if he really fought, he might really lose his life. Young master, something big has happened. There were still some smart people. Suddenly, a member of the Black Python clan jumped out from the crowd and shouted at Meng Xiao. The great master wants you to go back quickly. He said it's a big matter regarding the Black Python clan. Of course, this was fake. He just wanted to give Meng Xiao a way out. After Meng Xiao heard this, he immediately withdrew his battle intent. He glared at Ling Xiao and said, "You're lucky today. In the City of Sin, you should know your place. Otherwise, you'll suffer. Let's go." Meng Xiao couldn't wait to leave. This made everyone dumbfounded. Although Meng Xiao had a reason to leave, according to their understanding of Meng Xiao, once this person was angered, he wouldn't leave no matter what. They had to kill the person who angered him. Why did he suddenly become so rational today? Was he scared? Faced with this situation, the martialists from the Black Python clan were even more stunned. The usually domineering young master Meng Xiao actually watched as his brother was killed and didn't kill the other party. However, Meng Xiao had already left. The few of them didn't dare to find trouble with Ling Xiao at all. They ran away with their tails between their legs. The surrounding martialists wanted to laugh, but didn't dare to. After all, this was the territory of the Black Python clan. They were really worried that the Black Python clan would take revenge. "You can leave now." Ling Xiao waved at the martialist who led the way. Since the Black Wind Gang was already visible, there was no need for a guide. "Thank you for not killing me, young master." The martialist who led the way cupped his hands and left as if he was running for his life. Just now, Ling Xiao killed a member of the Black Python clan in front of Meng Xiao. This scene left a deep impression in his heart. It was simply impossible to forget. "Master, are we still going to continue shopping?" Cold Plum asked softly as she looked at the sudden increase in the number of people wearing Black Python clothing on the street. Obviously, although Meng Xiao had found an excuse to leave, he definitely couldn't take this lying down. Now, the Black Python clan had already started to take action. As long as there was a chance, he believed that these people would definitely mercilessly destroy him. Ling Xiao, let's go to the auction house first. Otherwise, the items will be snatched away by others. Ling Xiao thought about it and said, "Ling Xiao, I just heard something interesting. You'll be interested." The Moon Maiden suddenly said, What is it, Sister Moon Maiden? Ling Xiao asked in bewilderment. It seems that Sin City will be holding an alchemy convention in 2 days. At that time, alchemists from the Heavenly Dragon Continent, Divine Phoenix Continent, 7 Martial Grandmaster Island, and even 5 Immortal Island will participate. Aren't you always interested in alchemy? Do you want to join in the fun? The Moon Maiden replied with a smile. Of course I'll participate. Where will it be held? Ling Xiao didn't doubt the Moon Maiden's words at all. After all, the Moon Maiden was a Yin-Yang realm expert. Her perception range was much stronger than Ling Xiao's. It was normal for her to hear things that Ling Xiao couldn't hear. The Black Python Clan. The Moon Maiden smiled. Chapter 1184. Interesting. Then I'll definitely go. Ling Xiao liked crowds. Plus, this alchemy convention was related to what he was best at. If he went, he might even be able to get something good. It's good that you want to go. The alchemy convention in the City of Sin is an event that only happens once every 2 years. The Black Crow Empire, the Divine Phoenix Empire, the 7 Martial Grandmaster Island, and the 5 Immortal Island will all send people to participate. It'd be a shame to miss it. The Moon Lady smiled. To an alchemist, interacting with others in the same field is very important. If you can get some results in this convention, I'm sure more and more people will be wary of you in the future. It'd be a shame if you don't use this advantage. Master, I've also heard that the alchemy convention in the City of Sin will be watched by many forces. If you perform well, you'll be noticed by these forces and invited to be their guest. The treatment is so good that countless people will go crazy. Cold Plum added, though she was young, she had actually been to many more places than Ling Xiao. In Cold Plum's blurry memory, she seemed to have been to the City of Sin before. It was just that she was too young back then and couldn't remember clearly. I can work with some big forces, but I don't need to submit. I am the Heavenly Emperor of the Celestial Empire. If I become someone else's alchemist, I won't have any freedom. Ling Xiao shook his head. That's where you're wrong. Master Miracle Hand Sunshang, you know him too. Though he was killed by us, he had a glorious past. Cold Plum said, Sunshang was an absolute dark horse in the 31st Alchemy Convention in the City of Sin. Before he participated in this convention, he was a nobody and was very poor. But after he successfully got some results in the convention, he was noticed by many big forces. In the end, he chose to become an imperial doctor of the Sacred Dynasty. At that time, Sunshang was only a low-level alchemist of the Yellow Realm. His cultivation at that time was even worse. He was only at the 1st Grotto Heaven realm. But with the support of the Sacred Dynasty, not only did his alchemist rank increase, but he also became the strongest alchemist of the Sky Dragon and Divine Phoenix continents. Furthermore, his cultivation base had soared as well, becoming a powerful Grotto Heaven state supreme being. Before he was killed by us, he was really someone who could call the wind and summon the rain. If he didn't have the support of the Sacred Dynasty, he wouldn't have had the terrifying achievements he has today just by relying on his own efforts. So Sunshang actually has such a history. Ling Xiao had always thought that Sunshang was born and raised in the Heavenly Dragon Continent and had never left that place. The Moon Maiden said casually, that's right. Whether it's cultivation or alchemy, it requires a lot of money. Even for someone with extremely high talent in medicine, if they lacked the support of an endless supply of medicinal ingredients, it would still be difficult for them to achieve results. Many genius martial artists were delayed when they were young, and when they reached a certain age, they lost their innate advantages and became mediocre. Alchemists needed medicinal ingredients to concoct pills. If they spent all their time on this, where would they find the time to improve their abilities? If they had a rich backer to provide them with ingredients, then it would be different. They could completely focus on concocting pills and not worry about anything else. The Alchemy Conference is actually to find rich backers who can support you. Many alchemists have the same idea. Sister Moon Maiden, what you're talking about has nothing to do with me. Ling Xiao had the mountain river martial spirit. While others needed tens of thousands of medicinal ingredients to practice, he only needed one set. He was only 17 years old, and it had been less than 2 years since he started learning alchemy. However, his current achievements were no worse than Sun Shang's before he died. Therefore, to him, large amounts of medicinal ingredients were meaningless unless they were used to concoct pills. Moreover, he was now the celestial emperor of the Celestial Empire. He had such a huge empire behind him. Adding on the Heavenly Dragon Trading Company's Princess Yunya's help, it was not impossible for him to get medicinal ingredients. Speaking of medicinal ingredients, he suddenly thought of something. This time, he came to the City of Sin with another purpose. He wanted to get as many medicinal ingredients as possible and concoct enough pills to increase the overall strength of the Dark Thorn and the Divine Capital's guards. Compared to the Imperial Jade Seal, this was also very important. Although he could not rely on pills, it would not do if he did not use them at all. We've arrived at the Black Wind Tower. The three of them chatted as they arrived in front of the Black Wind Tower. Looking at the Black Wind Tower, which was so tall that its peak could not be seen, Ling Xiao could not help but reveal a surprised expression. This Black Wind Tower was not simple. The power behind the Black Wind Tower was not simple either. Let's go in and take a look. Let's see what's so special about this so-called strongest auction house on the Divine Phoenix continent. Ling Xiao had a feeling that he would definitely be able to find the Imperial Jade Seal in this trip to the City of Sin. This feeling became even stronger the moment he entered the Black Wind Tower. The three of them stepped onto the bluestone paved road. It was flat and clean, and there was not even a trace of debris. Under the hawk-like gaze of the Black Wind Tower's guards, Ling Xiao and the other two stepped into the Black Wind Tower. Compared to the bustling atmosphere on the Black Street, the inside of the Black Wind Tower was much quieter. Even though there were many people, everyone kept quiet and did not dare to speak loudly. From the Black Street to the Black Wind Tower, there was only a door between them, but it was like heaven and earth. The difference was really big. Inside the Black Wind Tower, there was no cold wind. Instead, it was very warm. When Ling Xiao saw the layout inside, his eyes suddenly went out of control. In the entire hall, all the counters were made of crystal and gold. Not only were they beautiful, they were also very high class. There were also guards inside the Black Wind Tower, but they were all in plain clothes and did not wear any special uniforms. However, Ling Xiao could tell from their expressions and eyes that these people were definitely from the Black Wind Tower. The moment Ling Xiao and the other two stepped into the Black Wind Tower, at least 100 gazes swept over them. After a moment, these very uncomfortable and nervous, sharp gazes gradually moved away. Say, who do you think is the boss behind the scenes of the Black Wind Tower? I don't believe it's the Black Python clan. Does the Black Python clan have such a big lineup? Ling Xiao rubbed his chin and asked in confusion. The Black Python clan's great master is the boss of the Everlasting Joy Celestial Island. With the support of the Everlasting Joy Celestial Island, even the Black Crow Empire, Divine Phoenix Empire, and Emerald Ripple Island do not dare to provoke them easily. Master, you can't underestimate him. Cold Plum reminded. In order to become Ling Xiao's most capable assistant, and not just a helper, Cold Plum could be said to have put in a lot of hard work. At the very least, in her spare time when she was cultivating, she still looked up a lot of information related to the City of Sin. It was not a coincidence that she was able to say these things this time. Chapter 1185. The Changle Celestial Island actually acquiesced to the existence of these asterisk forces. It seems that the 5 Celestial Island isn't a good place either. Ling Xiao muttered to himself, and his eyes suddenly glanced in the direction of the Raven Wind Tower. The originally quiet crowd suddenly became excited, as if something had happened or some big shot had appeared. Through the dense crowd, Ling Xiao caught a glimpse of a familiar figure. It was still that graceful and delicate figure, still that calm pace, Still that noble smile. This figure made many men feel like beasts in heat, pouncing on her as soon as they smelled her scent. This beautiful woman frowned her beautiful peach blossom eyes. Obviously, she had a natural resistance to those men who tried to get close to her. However, when her gaze landed near the entrance of the Raven Wind Tower, she was stunned on the spot. Her gaze was completely focused on the black-haired young man in white. As the most dazzling pearl in the hall, her every move attracted the attention of the people around her. Seeing Yunya's gaze fall on Ling Xiao with a knowing smile, many male warriors couldn't help but feel as if a cat was scratching their hearts. At the same time, they felt uncomfortable, and at the same time, they felt a strong sense of jealousy. That's Princess Yunya from the auction house that I met in the Holy City. She also helped me a lot in the Divine Phoenix capital. Ling Xiao smiled and introduced her to the Moon Lady and Cold Plum beside him. After a while, the sound of cheerful footsteps could be heard. Yunya flew to Ling Xiao's side like a beautiful magpie. Young hero Ling, I didn't expect you to still be as sharp and eye-catching as a sword after not seeing you for only a few months. I heard that you've become the Celestial Emperor of the Celestial Empire. It's a pity that I went to the Chang'e Celestial Island a while ago because of work, so I couldn't catch up with your heroic battles in the Divine Phoenix capital and Shanghai. Yunya had long heard of Ling Xiao's great achievements. She had always wanted to meet and have a good talk with Ling Xiao, but unfortunately, she couldn't do it because of work. She looked very excited, and her slender and delicate figure was even trembling. Many people couldn't help but feel pity for her, and they couldn't help but want to go forward and hug her. Princess Yunya is becoming more and more mature and charming. Even a young boy like me is drooling. Ling Xiao said with a smile, "Let me introduce you. This is the Moon Lady. You should know her. The other is Cold Plum. You've met her before. Cold Plum." Yunya's body had a charming fragrance. This must have been done with extremely high-quality spices. It wasn't vulgar, but it was still very charming. "Greetings, Your Highness. Sister Cold Plum." Yunya was very respectful to the Moon Lady, and she was really surprised to see her. She was really moon, this, Greetings, Princess Yunya. Cold Plum cupped her hands and said. The Moon Lady just nodded slightly. If it weren't for her relationship with Ling Xiao, she might not have bothered with Yunya at all. After all, she was a Yinyang realm expert. She was the strongest existence on the Sky Dragon continent, the Divine Phoenix continent, and even the White Tiger continent. I just heard that Mang Zhao's subordinate was killed by a young swordsman named Ling Xiao. I thought it was just someone with the same name. I didn't expect it to be you. Yunya looked at Ling Xiao again and said with a little worry. Ling Xiao smiled and said, "Yes, the murderer is Ling Xiao. Mang Xiao couldn't control his subordinate. That person actually dared to sneak an attack on me. I killed him casually. Ling Xiao, since you met Mang Xiao, you must already know the power of the Black Python clan, right?" Yunya asked. "Yes, I heard that it is a secret force of the Chang'e Celestial Island. The leader is very powerful." Ling Xiao nodded and said, "Since you know, then you should understand that there is no good ending for offending the Black Python clan. Why don't I be the middleman and peacemaker and help you make peace?" Yunya said after thinking for a while. "Princess Yunya seems to have forgotten that I am not only the Dragon King of the Divine Phoenix Empire, but also the Celestial Emperor of the Celestial Empire. The one who should regret is not me, but the Black Python clan," Ling Xiao said lightly. Hearing this, Yunya couldn't help but be stunned. After a long time, she suddenly understood the real meaning of Ling Xiao's words. If there was a reconciliation, it should be the weak who reconciled with the strong. At this time, the weak was not Ling Xiao, but the Black Python clan. "I understand." Yunya smiled and didn't insist on reconciliation. At this time, she suddenly thought of the Phoenix Academy. At that time, Ling Xiao was not as strong as he was now, and his power was not as strong as it was now. However, he still killed Heavenly Master Miracle Hand and completely suppressed the elixir business of the Phoenix Academy, allowing Qingshu College to be reborn. Now, Ling Xiao was obviously more mature than he was at that time. With a powerful force as his backing, he really didn't have to be afraid of the Black Python clan. By the way, Princess Yunya, why are you here? Aren't you afraid that they'll eat you up? That's a bunch of ferocious men, you know. Ling Xiao asked with a smile. Yunya shook her head helplessly and said, It's a task assigned by the headquarters. They asked me to come to the City of Sin to be the host of an auction for the Raven Wind House. The Black Python clan is quite powerful. They can actually get in touch with the headquarters of the Heavenly Dragon Chamber of Commerce. Ling Xiao was a little surprised. That's not it. It's probably my boss who is using his power to intimidate others. He is in charge of the business of the Heavenly Dragon Continent and the Divine Phoenix Continent at the Changel Celestial Island. Naturally, he has the power to assign me. Yunya sighed and said, You don't sound too happy? Ling Xiao asked. How can I be happy? In the City of Sin, there are too many shameless people. I can't stand their frivolous words. Yunya said helplessly, Why don't we find a place to talk? You must be here for the auction today. I will arrange a VIP room for you. Sure, standing here all the time, I'm almost being treated as a rare animal. While Ling Xiao and Yunya were talking, the eyes of the people around them didn't move. They were all staring at them. The three of you follow me. Yunya made a gesture of invitation. Then, she walked in front and headed for a staircase. The entire staircase was made of exquisite white jade. It was really extravagant. There were 6 guards standing at the bottom of the staircase, looking at Ling Xiao and the other 2 behind Yunya. Their eyes were full of vigilance. Princess Yunya, without the permission of our housemaster, no one is allowed to go up. The guard said to Yunya as he blocked the path of Ling Xiao and the others. If anything happens, I will take responsibility. Don't you know that I have this privilege? If it doesn't work, I will turn around and leave right now. I will not make things difficult for you. Yunya said lightly. Chapter 1186. The 6 guards gathered together and lowered their heads to discuss for a moment. Finally, they made way for her. According to the rules of the Raven Wind Tower, the distinguished guests could indeed bring guests upstairs, but they could only bring 4 people at a time. Yunya did not violate the rules, so they really could not stop her. Moreover, Yunya was backed by the Heavenly Dragon Trading Company, so they did not dare to provoke her easily. Otherwise, they would definitely be in serious trouble in the future. Stop! Yunya had already brought Ling Xiao, Moon Maiden, and Cold Plum to the 2nd floor. Just as she was about to look for a private room, a somewhat weak voice suddenly sounded. After a while, several people appeared in front of them. The person in the lead was pale and thin, and his eyes were a little erratic. He felt that his body was weak because of long-term sexual intercourse. However, this young man, who was obviously overindulgent, was not weak at all. He was actually a warrior of the 9th heavenly layer. This kind of cultivation was considered outstanding anywhere in the Heavenly Dragon Continent and the Divine Phoenix Continent. They weren't as rare as phoenix feathers or Qilin horns, but they were definitely elites. The young man looked at Yunya with a smile. 2 green lights shone in his eyes, and the corners of his mouth even raised into an evil smile. Mang Yuan, what do you want to do? A cold and disgusted expression appeared on Yunya's face. It was as if she had suddenly seen a bedbug while eating. That kind of feeling was beyond disgusting. What do I want to do? Princess Yunya, although you are the host of the auction invited by the Raven Wind Tower, you can't casually play favoritism. Each of those VIP rooms is extremely precious. Not just any Tom, Dick, or Harry is qualified to enter. A touch of gloominess appeared on Mang Yuan's face. He was very unhappy. especially when he saw Yunya's disgusted and contemptuous expression. He simply had an impulse to force himself on her. He was a direct relative of the Black Python clan. The first master was his uncle, and his cultivation aptitude was definitely not bad. He had reached the early stage of the 9th heavenly layer at the age of 19. This was not something that anyone could do. He was smitten with Yunya the moment he saw her. He had once entrusted his uncle to propose marriage, but Yunya had directly rejected him. This made him, who had always been proud and fierce, very unhappy. Therefore, when facing Yunya, he would more or less target her. But why do I remember that the great leader of the Black Python clan once promised me that no matter which friend I bring, I can freely use 1 or 2 of the noble rooms here? Although Yunya's words were polite, her tone was cold and disdainful. The one who invited him here was the great leader of the Black Python clan, not a small guard captain of the Dark Wind Pavilion. Get out of the way, or you'll be going against the first master. Yunya glanced at Mang Yuan coldly. Then she turned around and grabbed Ling Zhao's arm. She walked past Mang Yuan and headed toward the VIP box. This scene made Mang Yuan feel like his face was burning. This woman actually dared to threaten and ignore him in front of his subordinates. More importantly, the woman he had been pursuing but could not get was actually holding another man's arm intimately. This made him burn with jealousy. As the fire burned, he gradually lost his mind and roared at Yunya's back. Be asterisk, to sage, it turns out that you pretend to be noble and virtuous in front of me like a white lotus. But secretly, you like this kind of little fresh meat. I just don't know if this immature brat can satisfy your needs on the bed. Yunya suddenly turned around and cast a cold gaze at Mang Yuan. She released a powerful aura, which surprised Ling Zhao. He had always thought that Yunya was just a businesswoman and might not have a powerful cultivation. He did not expect that this woman, who usually looked charming, actually had a terrifying cultivation of half-step yin-yang realm. It was simply terrifying. Mang Yuan was also shocked. He suddenly realized that he did not provoke a woman he found on the roadside, but a terrifying existence from the Heavenly Dragon trading firm. This woman had become the boss of the Heavenly Dragon trading firm in the Heavenly Dragon continent and the Divine Phoenix continent at such a young age. If she was not capable, it was impossible. It was no wonder that even the first master was so respectful to this woman. He forced himself to swallow the dirty words that he was about to blurt out, but he still felt uncomfortable. Suddenly, Ling Zhao came into his sight. I don't dare to scold Yunya, but I dare not scold this boy. Mang Yuan felt that he needed to vent his anger. Otherwise, he would definitely go crazy. So, he absolutely could not bear it. He scolded Ling Zhao. Boy, you've hooked up with 3 women at once. Aren't you afraid that your little body can bear it? Why don't you let me have some fun with the 2 beside you? Ling Zhao suddenly stopped. He looked at Yunya and said, Princess Yunya, can we kill this man? After all, he is the nephew of the great master of the Black Python clan. Give him some face and just cut off his tongue. Yunya said lightly, Good idea. Since he likes to scold people so much, I'll cut off his tongue so that he can't speak forever. According to Ling Zhao's temper, he would definitely kill the other party for blaspheming his sister Moon Maiden and sister Cold Plum. However, after all, this involved Yunya. He did not want to make things too difficult for Yunya. Moreover, cutting off his tongue might be more punishing than killing Mang Yuan. Be careful, his strength is not ordinary, Yunya was just about to remind Ling Zhao. However, before she could finish speaking, she found that Mang Yuan had already knelt on the ground, covering his bleeding mouth. And on the ground made of white jade, a section of his tongue looked very shocking. Since Princess Yunya has pleaded for you, I will only cut off your tongue. This is also for your own good. Otherwise, in the future, if you meet someone more ferocious than me, you will lose your life. Ling Zhao glanced at Mang Yuan indifferently as if he had done something very ordinary. Since someone was looking for a beating, why should he be polite? He did not want to provoke the Black Python clan. However, if the people of the Black Python clan insisted on making trouble for him, he could not avoid them. It was better to take the initiative to attack. Boy, you're finished. How dare you touch our guard captain? You're dead meat. At this moment, the guards behind Mang Yuan finally realized what had happened. They looked at Ling Xiao in horror and shouted fiercely, "Why aren't you getting out of here? Do you really want to die?" Yin rebuked angrily. She was really afraid that Ling Xiao would start a massacre here. In that case, he would be at odds with the Black Python clan. She did not know how powerful Ling Xiao was now, but she definitely did not want Ling Xiao to risk offending an unknown enemy. When Mang Yuan was carried away by his subordinates, although he could not speak, his eyes were fixed on Ling Xiao as if he wanted to swallow Ling Xiao whole.